All right. Welcome everyone to election night. We're officially underway here, 7:54 p.m. We are about 5 minutes away from the first results coming in. Just going to give everyone a little bit. Yep. How you doing today? Doing great, Brian. Thank you. And face reveal. Yep. Finally time. Also, I figured out how to use it for the live stream too. So hoping this time it's going a little bit better than last time, but yeah, so audio should be fixed. Face reveal's going. So thank you for watching. Thank you for joining. Hopefully it should be a good night. So we're waiting for the election results out of the Tennessee 7th special election, obviously. That's why we're all here. And this is between Republican Matt Van Epps and Democrat Aftyn Behn. And this is going to be a very interesting election because this is not a race that should be pretty competitive in a normal election year. We just saw in 2024 on the House level, we just saw this race go for the Republican Green at the time by 21.5%. So it's a pretty reliably red district. And yet in this special election, this is looking like this is going to be very, very close. At the Cook PVI level, this also is a pretty red district as well. It's listed at Republican plus 10, a likely Republican district. But nonetheless, this race is looking like it's going to be competitive anyway, really. And in the special elections that have taken place thus far, like in Florida's 1st district, Jimmy Patronis, the Republican, won this election, but by a much smaller margin than it was in November of 2024. So this was an example of the Democrats starting to overperform well for 2025, was Florida 1 and in Florida 6. This woman, Randy Fine versus Josh Whale, this one got a lot of the media attention, and this one ended up being roughly half the margin, if not more, than what it was in 2024 as well. So very important, very interested to see how these elections go. As for this race, the polling right now, only the most recent poll from Emerson is the only non-affiliated poll that came out, and it showed actually a very close election. Matt Van Epps having 48%, Aftyn Behn having 46%, still 5% of respondents saying they were undecided. So in this very red district, looking like this is going to be actually a very, very close election. Now, ultimately, how this all goes, for me, really depends on voter turnout. Because this district in 2024, as I just said, was a very big Republican win, but the overall votes in 2024 were 322,000 total. And in 2022, the midterm election, it was around 180,000. Now, this is a special election, so I'm banking on more of a lower turnout type numbers, more similar to like a midterm than to a presidential year, is what I'm really expecting. So when you look at the actual vote numbers of the counties, I'm probably looking more towards what I think this is going to be, around the 180,000 mark, but we'll have to wait and see how that all goes. Now, for this district, overall, it's been a really long time since this district has shown really any competitiveness at all. Green won it by 21.5 points in 2024. In 22, he won it by about 22 points. 2020, the map was drawn differently, but this 7th district, the same number that he represents, was a 42-point victory. 2018, it was a 35. 2016, 48. So this has been red for a very, very long time. I did just want to pull up the 2018 Senate map from Tennessee. This is the last time there was like a really competitive election in Tennessee. And it showed that, I believe I saw something on Twitter, that the overall district, the way it was drawn, obviously the county level and the district are going to be drawn a little bit differently, but it was, this district was Bredesen plus like 0.5 or something. Between Blackburn and Bredesen, if the district was drawn the way it is now back then. So it did have a very competitive election back in 2018. Now, what does that mean for tonight? I mean, probably not much, but if it does end up being a very good night for the Democrat, Aftyn Behn, we could look back at these numbers and say, look at some of these margins in counties like Davidson, where this is where a lot of the attention is going to be. This is Nashville. Phil Bredesen won it over Marshall Blackburn, 70.7 to 28.5. Now in 2024, Nashville went 67-30 for Megan Barry over Mark Green. As for tonight, if Matt Van Epps or Aftyn Behn, if Aftyn Behn specifically, if she is going to pull off the upset in this very red district and win, she's going to need a lot of very high voter turnout out of Nashville, probably around like 80-20, 85-15, somewhere really, really high in that margin to make up for the rest of these counties like Wayne County, Perry, I'm definitely going to pronounce this probably wrong, but Decatur, Benton, Humphreys, Hickman, these counties that are smaller in population, but are going to be a lot more Republican than Nashville will. Now, overall, what I'm looking for as well, not only in Nashville, but I'm looking at the counties that were the least red in 2024, because they're obviously every single one but Nashville and Davidson County were red. But when you look at the margins, about 20 points in Montgomery, about 70-27 in Cheatham, Williamson 65-33. These were overall the least red of the three counties that voted red for Mark Green. So what are the margins in these areas? Sort of a comparison I'm looking for is kind of what we saw in Virginia in 2025, where some areas that voted super red back in 2021, like maybe Lunenburg County, was down to only a 20-point win. Or a county like, I believe it was this one, Chesterfield, voted for Spanberger 59-41, when it was not like that at all back in 2021. So I'm looking for areas like that on this map and how it overall tends to go. It also is worth noting it just hit 8 p.m. No votes have been reported yet, but I'll be checking back and forth as those numbers do come in throughout the night. But it is now officially 8 p.m. The polls have closed in Tennessee, and we're going to start awaiting our first results out of this very special district. It's also very important right now because I believe the House map is, I want to say the Republicans are at 219. I think this will put them up to the majority, up to the 220, although I think it will go back down once Marjorie Taylor Greene resigns in January. But overall, the House, this is a very important election because there's not a very large majority for the Republicans right now. It's important to remember that right after the 2024 elections, Republicans held 220 seats, Democrats 215. You need 218 to have a majority. So the Republicans only have a 3-seat majority in the House right now. So if this district flips to the Democrats and it gets the Democrats up to 216 when all the members are filled, it doesn't give the Republicans a lot of kind of wiggle room to try and get a lot of bills passed. So very, very important how this could all go. It's also very important as well as obviously, it's December of 2025, but the conversation is going to be if this race goes blue or even if it's very close, what does this mean for 2026? That is going to be the big takeaway question coming out of tonight. If it is a close race, especially Democrats are feeling the momentum right now. President Trump's approval ratings, let's just do a quick refresh here, where President Trump is currently sitting at negative 12.3 on the RCP job approval numbers. And for the generic ballot, Democrats, they were up 4.8, so let's see if it moved at all. Yeah, the Democrats are now up 5.6 on the generic congressional ballot. They're going up. Republicans are certainly in free fall on this one. So Democrats are hoping for a very big night in that leading into 2026. Republicans are hoping to essentially try and stop the bleeding and try and get a win here and bring that into 2026 and essentially try and like reassess and keep 2026 from being the big Democratic blue wave that looking like it's going to be pretty strongly. Now, as for what this election's looking like right now, again, no votes have come in, but I'm looking, as I mentioned, out of Davidson County. I'm also looking at Montgomery as well. This is where Clarksville is. If there's going to be an area outside of Nashville that ends up going blue, I think there's a good chance Clarksville could be one of them, as higher voter turnout and population and such is going to be very important for Aftyn Behn. I think Montgomery has a chance of flipping, but we're going to have to wait and see again on all that. Now, overall, for this district from 2024, again, you look at these margins, Williamson 65-33, Robertson 73-25, all very high percentage wins. Overall population, which I have not gone over yet, in 2024, Montgomery was 77,769 votes. So Montgomery, the county I just went over, was actually the largest by overall votes in 2024. In 2022, it was a little bit different. Davidson with Nashville was about a few hundred votes more. So for tonight, that's going to be one that I am watching that's going to be very important to look at, is what are these overall numbers in these counties looking like? And obviously, this is going to be a much closer election, so we don't really have anything to base it off of from 2024, where it was a 20-point win for the Republican. But what do the numbers look like in comparison? I wouldn't be shocked if every single county, when the night is over, has shifted towards the Democrat, as this is going to be a close election, and 2024 really wasn't. But looking at what these numbers overall are, for instance, in Nashville, where the Democrat won here by roughly about 27,000 votes, what is the net win this time around is going to be a very important conversation as the results start to come in. But still, we're going to be waiting for these results for a little bit. And yeah, so we're just going to wait for the results, and we're going to just keep looking at this. I think I'm caught up on pretty much all the super chats. I've been hearing of this special election, forgot, and just remembered that it was today. Honestly, this one crept up really quickly. I remember doing the live stream for the new 2025 elections in early November, and I remember getting a question about this, and I was like, I haven't even heard of Tennessee 7 back on the election in 2025. I hadn't really paid much attention to it. And then once I got the super chat, I started paying more attention. And now it's election day, and we're going to find out probably in the next like hour and a half or so how this race ultimately goes. Let's see. Lefty Meme says, I think Behn is going to win or is winning. Yep. I mean, certainly could be. I mean, this is going to be a very fascinating race to watch for. I mean, it's going to be close because it's interesting because it's a very Republican district. So the Republican Matt Van Epps really should not have much of a problem in this race, but all the few polls we do have show this is going to be a very close race. The Democrat track record of what the Democrats have done on the House side of things have certainly shown to be a very big year for the Democrats in special elections. We have our first votes in, 2% of the votes in from Stewart County. 56% of the votes are in there. In Wayne County, 43%. And so we actually got some pretty big numbers out of these counties, about 50% and 40% respectively. Now, overall percentages here, Stewart County is 67 to 26 there. So let's compare that to 2024. It's about 79-18. So definitely an improvement for the Democrat in this county. Also, we have Wayne County as well. Matt Van Epps, 79-20. Let's see, compared to 2024, about 86 to 12. So both early vote numbers, even though they do go red for the Republican, the first results do show that Aftyn Behn is outperforming in these two red areas compared to 2024. All right, let's see. I got some few more super chats here. Behn is going to be the Connor Lamb of 2025. I mean, if she wins, certainly could be. Give me a chat. Can't wait for the results of the special election. Yep, absolutely. Watching from the UK. Oh, awesome. We got a UK listener. I didn't know I had that. That's awesome. Lamb won in more of a Republican district in the 2018 special. Yep, I do. I remember. Oh, I definitely didn't make a video on that, but I do remember, I think, watching that at the time. I do remember seeing that. We posted a tweet on Twitter saying how the Democrat victories of last month were a November 2028 type thing. Interesting. Or 2008 type thing. Interesting. Okay, so let's see. 3%. Oh, we got a few more votes, actually. We got some votes out of Houston County, 49% of the votes in there. Obviously, a lot smaller in overall vote numbers, but 68 to 31. And Perry County, 46% and 69-29. Comparing that to 2024, yeah, 81-18 and 76-22. So far, numbers are still pretty strong for Matt Van Epps, the Republican, but definitely looks like that Aftyn Behn is doing better in these red areas than the Democrat did in 2024, which is not really a surprise. It's pretty much expected that the Democrats doing better than they did back in November of 2024, but still, so far, all the reports leading into the election saying this is going to be a more competitive race, just in the few red votes that we have so far out of these four counties, seem to suggest that is underway. Once we start getting votes out of Nashville and Davidson County, that's where I think the race is really going to start to get real, and we'll start getting a really solid idea of how this is ultimately going. Fun fact, John Thorpe copied Van Epps' logo and is running as a more moderate conservative. What if he was a spoiler? LOL. That's true. A lot of this has been about Matt Van Epps and Aftyn Behn, but there are some other candidates running as well. John Thorpe is getting 1.2% as independent. Teresa Christie getting 1 point. Robert Sotheby 0.8 and Bobby Dodge 0.7. Obviously, looking at the overall numbers that are in, only 4,547 votes are in. Overall, 3% of the total expected votes. Still have 97% to go on the overall vote. So still, we have a very long ways to go here. Matt Van Epps is off to an early lead, but again, all in four counties that are going to be red counties, fully expected to be Republican red counties. So not really too much to take away from there. The only slight thing that I've noticed so far is the percentages and the votes that have come in thus far seem to suggest Aftyn Behn is outperforming in the red areas compared to what the Republican did back in 2024 and I believe in 2022 as well. But again, as I just mentioned, that's not really a surprise. It's pretty much expected considering this is going to be the closest election this district has probably ever seen in the last 20 years or so. So not much of a surprise there. Just got a few more votes. Matt Van Epps' lead grew about 0.5%, but we got some numbers, I believe, out of this county, out of Benton County, 73 to 25 here. And let's just compare it to 2024, where Benton County was 80-18. So far, every single county that's come in, as expected, are all voting more in favor of Aftyn Behn compared to what they were in 2024. I'm not going to say for sure if this is going to be a telltale sign of how this is going to go. Like if Matt Van Epps is going to lose because these counties are going more towards the Democrat, because this is going to still really hinge on what Nashville does and the percentages there. But at very least, if Aftyn Behn does pull off a very close victory, or if Matt Van Epps pulls off a very close victory, we can look at these numbers in these red counties and say, okay, they're underperforming compared to 2024, and maybe that has an even more drastic effect in Nashville and Davidson County, in Montgomery County. But early on, still too close, but definitely looks like Aftyn Behn is outperforming the 2024 margins, what she is expected to do, and she is doing. The only update from, let's see, from New York Times and Nate Cohn here is that Tennessee typically reports its early vote first, and Democrats are expected to fare well in the early vote. Republicans outnumber Democrats by just 6 points among those who had previously voted in a partisan primary, compared to a 22-point edge among those who didn't vote early. Republicans are expected to fare better in the election day ballots. So, like Nate Cohn, the chief political analyst, said, a lot of these early numbers probably should skew more towards the Democrat Aftyn Behn, and so far these early percentages seem to be suggesting that even in the red areas, it makes sense why the Democrat is doing a lot better at this current point in time. So you got some more chats here. I saw a lot of Nick Fuentes fans on Twitter voting for Aftyn Behn because of Van Epps' support for Israel. Oh, that's interesting. Actually, I hadn't seen about that. I mean, I'm not really seeing a lot of that on Twitter, but interesting. Thank you for doing a live tonight. Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. Thank you for watching. It would be insane if Behn won because of the Gore law. First results out of Tennessee and Deep Red County show 18% shift for the Dems. A 22% shift would be needed to win, but still holy Toledo. Yeah, based on the few votes that we got in, we just got some more votes here out of Cheatham County. 7% of the vote in now for the entire district, and it's gotten closer. 60-39 for Matt Van Epps versus Aftyn Behn, so a 21-point lead here. This one feels pretty significant. 70-27 back in 2024, now only 60-39. This is, I think, more of what it needs to be seen here for the Democrats who are hoping to win this race. Seeing a number like this, 60-39, this is showing more of a sign of what this close race is going to look like. The question was going to be, ultimately, what does the voter turnout really do when everything is said and done in Nashville, in Cheatham, and up here in Montgomery? What does it overall end up doing? But so far, it looks like it's going exactly as expected, which is Matt Van Epps is leading the red areas, but he's leading them by a lot less, and Aftyn Behn is performing a lot stronger than any Democrat has in this district so far. Is it too early to say, though, what's going to happen, who's going to win? I would still say yes, but definitely interesting that Aftyn Behn, like the commenter said, like Lefty Memes in the chat said, that 18% shift in the Deep Red County, a 22% shift is needed to win, but an 18% shift is certainly very significant in Aftyn Behn's direction. Now we're going to have to wait and see as more votes come in throughout the night. Does that happen everywhere? Does it exceed that in some areas? Does it go under? But still, very significant thus far. Matt Van Epps, though, is currently leading, 65.9-32. 9% of the votes are in. But again, we also don't have any votes yet out of Nashville. Okay, so we just got a very important vote drop here. 20% of the votes are in. Now, I would consider this so far to be the most important vote drop of the night so far. That is out of Montgomery County, Clarksville. I mentioned at the start of the live stream, if you're here for it, if you're not here for it, I mentioned the two most important areas I'm watching are Davidson County with Nashville and Montgomery County with Clarksville. These two areas are the highest in population based on the 2024 and 2022 votes. And Montgomery County has come in at 51.48% for Behn over Matt Van Epps, a 3-point lead, but 52% of the vote in. Now, this district in 2024, get ready for this one, was a 58-39 win for the Republican Mark Green, going from roughly about a 19 points for the Republican. Now it is a 3-point win for the Democrat. That is like the commenter said, that is a 22-point shift from the 2024 result to the 2025 special election. So at least so far, if you're Aftyn Behn, you're seeing Clarksville, you're seeing Montgomery County go blue, but that's what the Democrats want to see. Chat says it's early, but Behn is performing well so far. Victory is not out of the realm of possibility for her. No, absolutely not. I mean, Montgomery County being a 3-point lead for her right now, Aftyn Behn's camp and her campaign, certainly they probably love seeing that. This is an area that was a 19-point Republican win back in 2024. Now it's Democrat plus 3. This is definitely good news for Aftyn Behn and the Democrats. Now, again, obviously, we're getting 52% here, 53, 49. So 20% of the votes are in. They've actually come in pretty quickly. It's only 8-14. But there are still a lot of votes left to go, including no votes out of Nashville yet. But based on what has happened so far, these numbers certainly are looking good for Aftyn Behn compared to what they looked like for the Republican and Democrat back in 2024. If there's any question if this was going to be a competitive election, if Matt Van Epps was going to end up winning in a blowout today, I think that's definitely all out the window. This is looking like it's going to be a nail-biter of a race. Whether Matt Van Epps pulls it out or Aftyn Behn pulls off the upset, either way, this is definitely going to be a closer election than the 2024 one without a doubt, but now it seems to be pretty much confirmed that's going to be happening. Actually, let me see the results of the poll. I don't think I've looked at this yet. Matt Van Epps, 59%. And we got Aftyn Behn, 41%. Interesting. Okay, let me close that up. Okay, so, yeah, 20% of the votes are in. We just got a few more votes now up to 22%. Matt Van Epps' lead has grown about 1 point. Let's see, we seem to have all these counties now in the western part of the district, at least have some votes coming in. Let's do a quick check-in here. Stewart County, 67-26. Houston, 68-31. Humphreys, 64-34. Benton, 72-26. We have Perry, 69-29. Decatur County, 72-27. Wayne County, 79-20. And Hickman, 70-28. Overall, so far the trend has been in every one of these counties. Matt Van Epps is definitely underperforming what Mark Green did back in 2024, and Aftyn Behn so far is way outperforming the margins that the Democrat did from 2024 as well. 26% of the votes are now in, and it's still a pretty sizable lead for Matt Van Epps, 57.2 to 41.2, but overall, we're still missing the votes out of one of the most important counties, or probably the most important county to be honest, Davidson County and Nashville. But so far, I mean, certainly, whether or not Aftyn Behn wins this race is still going to be determined, but at this current point in time, to me, it looks like a pretty good news for Aftyn Behn right now for how it's going. 51 to 48, about 50% of the vote in, 52%, but a 3-point lead out of Montgomery County is very good news for her. Again, considering it was a 19-point win for the Republican Mark Green back in November of 2024 on the same ballot as President Trump. This is definitely good news for the Democrats so far. Hey, brother, you're streaming your YouTube upload page. Am I really? Oh, no. What happened? Well, that's not good. No, okay. Okay. I don't know why it's doing that. It shouldn't be. Let's see. Let's see if I can refresh this. Okay. Okay, I don't know why it's doing that, but let me see if it goes back to the thing. If not, I mean, all right. Let's see here. Is it still? It's still doing it. Okay. Let's see if I can do this. Okay. Hopefully it should be fixed now. I think I got it to work. Okay. I don't know why it did it. That's interesting, but second live stream, still got some issues going on, but okay, so I think we got it. All right, let me catch up on the super chats here. Behn winning Montgomery County is good news for her. Yep, definitely. I agree with that. Yeah, I saw Deeds 2025. Thank you for letting me know about that. I don't know why that happened, but hopefully should be fixed now. Everything should be good. Appreciate the deep dive, Politics. Thought you're doing great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And again, thank you for catching that. To be fair, Connor Lamb won the 2018 special election by 0.3% margin. Libertarian got 0.6, so one could argue he split the right-leaning vote. Yeah, I mean, you definitely could make the argument. I had no idea what thing until right now. I've been listening to that voice for so long. It's bringing me out seeing an actual person. Like, I know I've gone back and forth for a while if I want to do a face reveal or not, but I mean, I did it a few videos ago, and I was like, I kind of liked it, kind of want to stick with it, and I don't know, I think it's going good, but no, I do get that, definitely. And Sintod said, got it now, perfect. Okay, so on the bright side, now is a pretty good time to have the stream buffer because no really new votes have come in yet. We're still at 26% of the vote in, but as I was saying, 51-48 in Montgomery County seems to be a pretty good sign for Aftyn Behn thus far, and really we're still waiting for votes out of Davidson County, but every county that's come in so far has been doing better for Aftyn Behn. Again, expected, but definitely very important news for the Democrats. The question is going to be, once Nashville comes in, how that overall shakes up the race. But right now, Matt Van Epps is at 57.2, Aftyn Behn 41.2, a 16-point lead with 26% of the vote in. I'm just going to take some water real quick. Also, the poll right now, I put up a poll in the chat of which candidate's going to win between Matt Van Epps and Aftyn Behn. Currently, Matt Van Epps is leading 54% to Aftyn Behn's 46%. So very, very close, very split in the chat on who is going to win this one. Obviously, not too much of a surprise because the early results thus far seem to suggest that Aftyn Behn's in a pretty strong position. It's just going to go down to the wire because the Democrat winning this district is really unprecedented for the House level. So we're going to have to wait and see for all the votes to come in, but it's definitely looking like it is a possibility Aftyn Behn, when all the votes are counted, may potentially win this. Let's just take a look now at some of these counties and how they're going. Wayne County, 43% of the votes in so far, 79-20. Do they have the outstanding vote percentages part here? I don't know if they do. Okay, they have this part. 52% in, 59% in. So none of the counties so far are above 60% of the vote in. We're still waiting on counties out of Davidson. This is where Nashville is. Robertson and Williamson. The largest vote dump so far has been Montgomery, which is either the largest or second largest county, depending on overall votes. Earlier in the stream, I pointed out that in 2024, we had Montgomery be the largest county by votes, and then Davidson was number 2. In 2022, Davidson was number 1, Montgomery was number 2, by only a few hundreds of votes there. As for tonight, probably looking like Montgomery's going to be maybe number 1, although Nashville or Davidson, if voter turnout is really high, then it potentially maybe the highest in that. But that's all. We'll have to wait and see how that goes. Any new upcoming Texas video for the U.S. Senate? I was looking at some of the news today. I saw that Jasmine Crockett, I think by next Monday, is looking at potentially entering the race. So I do definitely have some plans for the Texas Senate race as well I want to do. I also saw a new poll that came out today between Jasmine Crockett and Ken Paxton that will be part of that video as well. So definitely I do want to do a new Texas U.S. Senate video. It's actually been, because the 2025 elections took up a lot of my time, it's been a little bit since I did a Texas Senate video. So yes, definitely I do have plans to do that. I also want to do a Massachusetts Senate video as well. Ayanna Pressley announced today that she would not be running for Senate. She'll be running for re-election. So I do want to do a video kind of updating on that one. And Seth Moulton versus Ed Markey looking like the primary matchup. So definitely want to do that. We just got a few more votes in out of the race. Not too much. It hasn't shifted it too much in Tennessee's 7th, but it's now up to 41.3 for Aftyn Behn, 57.2 for Matt Van Epps. Blue Wave EDU said hi again. Hi, great to see you. Thank you for watching the stream. How big of an indication will this be for the midterms? I think, well, it's interesting because special elections, obviously, a lot of times about voter turnout, but the Democrats in every special election thus far have outperformed their numbers from 2024. And based on how it's going tonight, Democrats are once again outperforming. And we saw the 2025 elections as well. We saw Democrats do really well in New Jersey. This one really caught me off guard. Virginia, Abigail Spanberger was leading by about 10 points in the polls. She won by 15. And then in New York City, Zohar Mamdani getting elected the mayor of New York City. To me, this all seems like this is going to be a pretty big Democratic wave. I mean, ultimately, we still have, 11 months until Election Day, so American politics can be very volatile. Things can always change, but I think this is probably going to be a pretty big wave for 2026. Ultimately, how much it ranges, we'll have to wait and see. It could be like a 2006 where it was like a generational Democratic wave. I kind of think it might be like a inverse of the 2014 Republican midterm where the Republicans did really well and pretty much everywhere, but it wasn't at the same level of like 2010 for the Republicans or 2006 for the Democrats. I wouldn't be shocked if it ends up being like that, especially on the House side of things with all the redistricting going on that might stop the Democrats from winning some areas. But if a Republican plus 22 district is being this close in a special election, it's possible this district maybe will be more red in 2026, but it may be competitive still. So I do think it'll be a blue wave though, for sure. And I think if this one does end up going to Aftyn Behn, this could be a pretty big indicator Democrats may do very well in 2026. Let's see. Brian said, I fear Crockett could defeat Talarico in the primary because of her ableist comments towards Abbott and her high name ID than Talarico. It's interesting because I think Jasmine Crockett in the early polls thus far would probably start out as the favorite in the Democratic primary. I haven't really seen anything too strongly in the polling to suggest that any of the Democrats could win against John Cornyn. Ken Paxton, it gets a lot closer. So if the polls are correct and Paxton's leading the Republican primary right now, I think that Paxton would probably still win, but it's going to be more competitive. But I think Talarico would do a little bit better than Jasmine Crockett because Crockett is a lot more outspoken and more of a national name, which may be good in a Democratic primary, but in a state like Texas, it may not be good. But then again, Texas in 2018 did only vote for Ted Cruz by about, 2 points against Beto O'Rourke. So it can definitely be close. So we'll have to wait and see how that ultimately goes. But yeah, I think Crockett running for Texas Senate will be very interesting. And I don't know. I don't think she wins, but it'll be very interesting to see how that goes. As for the Democratic primary, I think she definitely could win. I think Talarico, personally, I think would give the Democrats the best chance of winning, especially as he's hoping for his national stock and national profile to go up. But I think overall Crockett will probably emerge from that primary. How do you think that Montgomery County is going to go? Well, right now it's Democrat plus 3. Aftyn Behn's at 51. Matt Van Epps is at 48. So based on everything right now, it seems like that Aftyn Behn's running about 18 to 22%, depending on each county, better than 2024. So if that trend keeps up, it's possible Aftyn Behn may win it by 3 when all the votes come in. But if we don't know where the votes are coming in from for sure. I do know that the New York Times political analyst Nate Cohn said a lot of the early vote is going to be more Democratic. So it's possible as more votes come in and maybe more Republican, but there's no guarantee. I mean, I remember saying that in New Jersey on election night in 2025, the early vote was more Democratic, and as the night went on, I expected more Republican votes to come in, but they never really did. So Montgomery County may come in more red, but may also come in more blue. So essentially, we have to wait and see how that all goes. Captain Price II said, I hope the Democrats win. Blue Wave said, one thing I'm confused about, though, is why all of the Georgia Senate race is a toss-up still. All the GOP candidates are really bad, and it's a messy primary. John has raised a ton. Why is it? Good question, because I think John Ossoff, I think he started off the year after the 2024 elections. I think Georgia looked like Ossoff could really be in trouble after 2024, after Trump won the state back, although he only won it by 2 points. But going into 2026 now, after 2025 looking so good for the Democrats, and Brian Kemp saying he's not going to run, I personally have Georgia in my own rankings right now. I believe he's lean Democrat, and I do have it being a runoff election, but the more we get closer to 2026, the more I'm like, Ossoff may win outright. It's just Georgia's at the state level for the last few years with Kemp. If the right Republican is running, it's been a pretty decently red state. But at the federal level, it's been Democrat in both Senate seats. Yeah, I don't know. I think Ossoff right now, I'd consider it more lean Democrat than toss-up, personally. And like you said, the messy Republican primary, that's also pretty important as well. I don't believe Trump has made an endorsement in that one yet, but I do think Mike Collins is the likely Republican to win right now. But there's going to be some faction of the Kemp-Trump Republicans that aren't totally satisfied after the primary's over, which will probably be enough for Ossoff to win outright. But yeah, I agree. I don't really think Georgia's a toss-up right now for the Senate. I think Ossoff's going to win. The governor's race, I think, is totally a toss-up race. Senate, probably lean Democrat right now. I may be underestimating Crockett, but if it's Crockett versus Paxton, Paxton would win, but slightly. Yeah, I honestly wouldn't be shocked if the Democrats have a very good 2026. If it's Paxton versus Crockett and it's like an under 5 point race, I really wouldn't be shocked at all, to be honest. I don't know if that's more about Paxton or Crockett. Probably more about Paxton being a pretty weak candidate with a lot of baggage and a lot of scandals, but that wouldn't shock me one bit to see that happen. The election nerd and me and the partisan are on the opposite sides tonight. I don't know if that's a win-win or a lose-lose, but I'm enjoying the show. I don't know yet. But it's definitely exciting. 26% in. I think this race so far, there's really not too much I can take away from this other than Aftyn Behn is doing what all the polls and all the chatter have been. She's outperforming the Republican by a lot compared to the last Republican by about 18 to 22%. It's definitely looking like Aftyn Behn is in a real play at potentially winning this race. The question is going to be, as more votes come in, though, they're probably going to be more Republican than the votes that have currently come in. So does Van Epps get those numbers, or is it kind of like a similar recap of 2025 of the New Jersey governor's race? We'll have to wait and see. But right now, I think Aftyn Behn is going to make this race a lot closer, and we're just waiting really for votes to come out of Davidson County and Nashville and more votes out of Montgomery County. If Montgomery County gets even more Democrat, like if she can win this area by like, I don't know, 5 to 10 points or so, and somewhere in that range, that could be a sign that Aftyn Behn is performing really well throughout this entire district, and Matt Van Epps potentially may be in trouble. I do think, though, the fact that we're seeing the Democrat perform very well across all these areas is not too much of a surprise, considering President Trump and Speaker Mike Johnson made a kind of like a last-ditch effort to get Republicans in the district out to vote for Matt Van Epps. And I don't think that was by accident. I think that's because they saw some early numbers that showed if Republicans don't turn out to vote, Matt Van Epps could be in trouble. Now, that being said, we're talking about Van Epps like really potentially being in trouble, maybe losing. He's still leading 57.4 to 41.1. So he's still leading. He's still favored to win right now. Still only 26% of the votes are in, but with no votes out of Nashville yet and only half the votes in Montgomery, a little bit of a wait and see right now. See, you got more super chats. I want Texas to have their first November 2008 of the 21st century next November. Yeah, I mean, if the Democrats, if they perform the way they have in these special elections in 2026, I mean, might get that. How much of the Democratic overperformances this year do you think is just off your turnout? I definitely do think that's a very great question. I do think certainly that could be the case. I mean, the special elections that we've seen so far have been definitely something that's going to be hard to replicate for 2026, just because Republicans, for some reason, just don't turn out in these special elections the way Democrats do. Now, it could be a factor of that the Republicans are in charge of the presidency, Senate, House. So the Democrats are the ones motivated to get out and vote against Trump, especially if they're angry with the way Trump is running the country. That could be a very big one, but we've also seen since Trump's become the face of the Republican primary, or Republican Party, Republicans just don't get out and vote in off-year elections. They only really get out and vote in the presidential ones. So the special elections especially, the Democrats have won pretty much across the board. They won in all the vacant House races. They won the governor elections in Virginia, New Jersey, and even back in, March or April, they won the Wisconsin Supreme Court election, which I remember doing a video about, by a lot. Like, it wasn't like a 1-point victory. I think it was like an 11-point victory when all the votes are in. So this definitely, all these 2025 elections, it could be a situation of Democrats getting really strong voter turnout and Republicans just not turning out. But based on how this is going, there's no guarantee Republicans get out and vote in 2026. Now, I believe President Trump wants to do like a midterm convention for the Republicans, which I don't think has really been done before, or if it has, it's been a very long time. So he's definitely going to try and get Republican voter turnout out there. But yeah, voter turnout is going to be a big issue for the Republicans in 2026 if they can't get the people that only vote for President Trump out to vote. Democrats could be in for a very, very big blue wave in 2026, like a 2006 type midterm. Although it is a hot take to say that Michigan is more dangerous for the Senate than Georgia is. It's funny because I thought initially that Georgia would be more of a pickup opportunity for the Republicans than Michigan would be. I think we're talking about voter turnout and Republicans not turning out to vote. I think without Trump at the top of the ticket, Mike Rogers would not be able to have as good of a chance of winning this time around than he did in 2024. But I could see it because Mike Rogers overall, I would say, is probably more of a stronger candidate than the Georgia Republicans due to the fact that he basically is running unopposed, where the Republicans in Georgia are facing off in like a three-way Republican primary. And in Michigan, the Democrats are facing off in the three-way Democratic primary. So it may be a hot take, but I don't really think it's that hot of a take, though. Especially considering that Ossoff is the incumbent, and a Democratic incumbent in a swing state in a midterm year that should skew to the Democrats. Ossoff's probably going to win just when you look at all the factors that way. But no, I don't really. Maybe back in like January or February, I would have thought that was a hot take. Now, I really don't think it is. And we just got some very important votes out of this district, and what we've been waiting for the whole time has just happened. 39% of the votes are in. We finally have some votes out of Davidson County, out of Nashville. Okay, this is the main takeaway that I was waiting for. I said early on in the night, looking at the 2024 numbers, we saw Nashville go to the Democrat 67-30, 37 points. I said the number I was looking for was like 80-20 out of Nashville. 85-15 for Aftyn Behn versus Matt Van Epps. This is very, very big for Aftyn Behn. 85-15, a massive lead out of Davidson County. Now, again, it is true that this is mostly early vote, so it's going to skew more towards the Democrat, but the number percentage I was looking for Aftyn Behn versus Matt Van Epps, for Aftyn Behn to have a chance of winning, was 80-20. She's exceeding that, 85-15, going from, 37% for the Democrat now, back in 2024, now 85-15 here. I'm blanking on the math. Why do I want to say that's 70%? I think it is. I just want to double check, make sure I'm right. Yeah, 70-point lead. So a massive, massive gain from 2024 to this special election. Again, you want to talk about voter turnout. I mean, this is big. This is definitely very big. We just got some votes in as well from neighboring Robertson County, 45% of the votes in there. Matt Van Epps is leading 67-32 out of Robertson. In 2024, it voted red 73-25. So again, the trend continues. Every single county, Aftyn Behn is outperforming the Democrat from 2024. Again, I keep saying it, not unexpected, but the votes still had to count. The people started to get out and vote, and Aftyn Behn's pretty much outperforming literally every single place in this district. Now at 43% of the votes in, Aftyn Behn's leading in this race, 53.1. Matt Van Epps, 45.7. This is where I say, okay, the Republicans may need to start being a little bit concerned now. Also, at 43%, 70% or 70,000 votes are now in here. So still about 57% of the way to go. So if you double it, that'd be about 140,000 votes. Plus, again, like another quick math in my head, probably around 12,000 extra votes or so. So we're looking at an election around 150, 160,000 votes. That would be a little bit more in line with the midterms, about 180,000 in 2022. So if those numbers keep up, we're looking at around that number, around 160,000 votes or so. But Aftyn Behn, the Democrat, definitely. Early on in the night, I said the numbers out of the red counties looked like that. She was probably feeling pretty good about how things were going. That Nashville number is certainly a good number for Aftyn Behn and the Democrats there. Definitely the Democrats got to be very happy about a 70-point lead out of Davidson County. For sure, Democrats are definitely going to be feeling very good right now. We got a few more chats here. You the one who decided, I forget, you're the president of United Airlines and the moon. What state are you based out of? You got a dog in this fight. I actually don't. I'm based out of Massachusetts, so I don't have a dog in this fight. But, try. Fun thing about elections, there's always one going on, so I'm trying to cover as much as I can on these. Lefty Meme says stop the count. Blue Wave said also another thing I heavily disagree with is how Plattner is weak in Maine because of his scandals, and that Collins would beat him because in the Trump age, that stuff matters less, like A.J. Jones. That's actually a good point. I think the Maine Democratic primary is interesting because I think Plattner's scandals will it would hurt him, but it could be like a J. Jones situation where it's going to be very popular in the media, but when push comes to shove and people actually turn out and vote, there are going to be a lot of voters who just don't really have time to watch the media and don't really, quite frankly, care. They just show up and vote for a certain party. They support a certain party. So that is a good point. But I don't know, because Janet Mills, as the governor, has that pedigree of being the governor, which means a lot of Democratic voters are going to get out and vote for in the primary that would vote anyway. But primaries also usually shift more to the left and more to the right. So it would benefit Plattner in the primary, especially if these scandals are kind of not suppressed, but it's going to be probably, a year from when the scandals first broke to when the actual votes happen. So it's possible. And if it is Plattner versus Collins, even with the scandals, you're going to see the Democrats coalesce around him and probably give him all the money he needs anyway, because that's a very important Senate race that even if the Democrats win it now, they may not win the Senate in 2026, but they could definitely win it in 2028. So I do think for sure Plattner, even if he is the nominee, I think they still can win that Senate seat. Off topic, but what are your favorite music genres and music artists? That's an interesting question. I don't know. I kind of like listening to everything. honestly, sometimes I'll just go on YouTube and look up just like random songs like the 2000s, songs of the 90s, and kind of just like start listening to everything. Like, yeah, I kind of just like I really do like some older school music. I really do like Johnny Cash. I saw the Elvis movie a few years ago. I really like that, so I started listening to that. But I kind of listen to everything, like old, new. Yeah, that's a really good question. That might be the hardest question for me to answer tonight, honestly. But that's a very interesting question. I think Mainers probably would rather vote for a guy who's not 79 and has said stupid stuff on Reddit and had a dumb tattoo than vote for someone who's voted for Trump like 95% of the time. Yeah, I mean, definitely. That's definitely a good point. I mean, also, like I mentioned about Massachusetts earlier in the Senate race, a lot of Democrats are probably not thrilled that Ed Markey is in like the late 70s. Yeah, a lot of Democrats would probably not be thrilled that Janet Mills is 79, taking on Susan Collins, who I believe is also like the oldest or one of the oldest Republican senators as well. So yeah, Plattner certainly has the age argument down, and maybe they would want a Democrat that's younger. I would say that Mills' lack of scandals, I think, gives her a stronger chance at beating Susan Collins in the general election. I really don't think my position on that has shifted too much, but I do think for sure if it is Plattner versus Susan Collins, I don't think it's a slam dunk win that Susan Collins is going to win that race against Plattner. Like, I know that's kind of been some of the argument online, is that if it's Plattner versus Collins, that Collins can't lose, and I don't agree with that. Especially not with 2026 shaping up to be as good of a midterm year for the Democrats after how 2025 has gone. I don't think that Plattner could not win that Senate race. I definitely don't. Also, take a look at the incumbent ousting in opposite party states. Okay, that is actually a very great point for 2024 with what we saw in Ohio with Sherrod Brown, John Tester in Montana, and even Joe Manchin not running for re-election in West Virginia. If he ran, he was going to lose too. So that is true. 2024 could have been like an awakening of Republicans voting out these red state Democrats. Susan Collins is the last red Republican in a blue state, and I think it's very possible she goes down, whether it's Janet Mills or Graham Plattner in 2026. I don't disagree with you there at all. As for the Tennessee 7th District, right now we have 44% of the vote in. It's still narrowed. It's narrowed up a little bit, but the Democrat Aftyn Behn is leading 52.5%. Matt Van Epps 46.2%. Now every single county except for Williamson County has had some votes come in, and the big takeaways thus far is that Aftyn Behn is outperforming in every single county from the Democrat from 2024, and the two most important counties by population, Davidson and Montgomery, both of which being won by Aftyn Behn right now. Davidson was a 37-point win for the Democrat in 2024. It is a 70-point win for Aftyn Behn right now at 56% in. Montgomery County with 52% in. It was a 19-point win by the Republican, Mark Green, in 2024. It is a 3-point win for Aftyn Behn, Democrat, right now. So how this district overall is going, with 44% in, it's going to be a nail biter to the very end if there's going to be enough votes for Matt Van Epps to pull off the victory and narrowly defeat Aftyn Behn, or if Aftyn Bahn's got enough of a lead to hold on and win as more votes come in. The only thing that I'm waiting for is that, as the New York Times chief political analyst mentioned, this is going to be a lot of early vote, which is going to skew more for the Democrats, but this is going to be close. Their forecast still thinks Van Epps has more outstanding votes than Aftyn Behn's, so this may be very, very close. That Matt Van Epps may ultimately take the lead and win this race, but this is going to be a complete nail-biter until we see that happen. But definitely, based on how the votes have come in thus far, Democrats have to be feeling really good with what they're seeing out of Nashville and Davidson County and Montgomery County and Clarksville. Brian said, mine is rock music, particularly alternative rock and indie rock. Artist bands like Linkin Park. Okay, love Linkin Park. Linkin Park is awesome. Definitely agree with you with that. Young the Giant, Kendrick Lamar, SZA, Arctic Monkeys, Billie Eilish. Honestly, all very good. Honestly, all those music choices are awesome. All very good. Also, by the way, who do you think is the strongest Michigan candidate is? I really like Abdul, and I think people underestimate him. People care more about his policies than his name, in my opinion. I like Mal too, Mallory McMorrow. That's a good question, actually. I'm not really too sure on the Michigan one, to be honest. Because I kind of think all three of them, if they get to the general election, I do think they could be strong. I know the one that's probably most disliked by a large number of Democrats is probably Haley Stevens for a lot of her Israel stances. I think a lot of Democratic primary voters in Michigan aren't going to be the most thrilled if she becomes the nominee. But at the same time, depending on the poll you're looking at, she's also usually leading by a point or two. I have heard Mallory McMorrow's been gaining support over the last few months, that she started out in third place. Now she's arguably in first, depending on the poll you're looking at. So Michigan, I'm not really too sure. I think Abdul Al-Sayed could definitely win that as well. So it truly is. The polls show it to be a completely tied race right now between all three of them, and I kind of agree with it. Not one of them really stands out, but I think in terms of enthusiasm, I think Abdul Al-Sayed and Mallory McMorrow are kind of the two hot hands right now, and Haley Stevens is the one that's kind of like basically treading water and waiting to see how it overall kind of shakes out. But I think that's going to be a very interesting one to keep an eye out for. Deed says this is a toss-up / tilt race, in my opinion. I mean, I think it definitely could be. Definitely could be. My prediction, I think I had it as likely Republican, around a 5 to 6 point victory, and we'll have to wait and see how the votes come in. I mean, based on the numbers thus far, it's probably going to be definitely a little bit under that, but I think this is going to be very, very close, and we're going to have to wait till all the results are in before we have a definitive answer here. Does anyone here like the MCR? That's my favorite band, MCR. Am I blank? I don't know. I don't think I know what that is, actually. Fox just said the election is too close to call. Yep, definitely. Definitely seems like it. Brian said, me. Hands up, that's funny. I'll check on the poll as well for who he thinks is going to win. Matt Van Epps at 55 and 45% for Aftyn Behn. My Chemical Romance, The Black Parade Band. Oh, okay. I was like, why am I blanking on the MCR thing? I think I'm just focusing on the results too much. Okay, so still 44% in, but yeah, this has definitely been a very strong Democratic performance so far. Let's see. Also, I haven't mentioned this yet, but I have the chat pulled up right now. Almost 1,000 total views since I started the chat. Almost 1,000. That's insane. Thank you guys all so much for watching. This is awesome. I got a little more vote that's just come in. Up to 45% of the votes are in. Bain still up 52.2 to 46.5. I'll just do a quick check-in on some of the counties now as the votes have come in. Robertson County is at 67.32 for Van Epps over Bain, still 45% in. Montgomery still at 52%, 51.48. Nashville, Davidson County, 85.15. We can actually go down the list here as well, just see the overall percentages. Still waiting on votes out of Williamson County. We have actually had a few more counties had some more votes come in, 79% now. And Perry, it's a very tiny county by population, only about 1,200 votes or so, but 79% in, so about 21% left to go there. Wayne County, 71% there. The rest are all 60% or under at this current point in time. I was expecting Clarksville and Nashville to put Maine in the lead, and I was correct. Yeah, definitely. I mean, just got a few more votes out of Decatur. 95% of the vote is in, and the margin's gotten a little bit smaller. 51.4% for Aftyn Behn. Matt Van Epps, 47.4%. Decatur ended up being 79-20 with over 95% of the vote in. So over 95% is basically all the votes are in. There's still maybe a few more votes left out there, though this is a pretty small county. So if there is any more votes out there, maybe like maybe 20 or 30 votes left out there, probably not too many. But it's 79-20, it's pretty much in. Let's see, I just want to do quick math here, just compare it. 79-20, about 59-point win out of Decatur. And in 2024, it was 82-16. So from 59, 82-16, roughly 66. So about a 7-point decrease in the very red county of Decatur from 2024 to the 2025 special election. So not only is Aftyn Behn outperforming in the red or the blue area of Nashville, she's definitely outperforming in the red areas as well, including the very red area of Decatur as well. And yeah, so just waiting for more votes to come in, but Aftyn Behn's performing very well right now. Overall, will be enough to win. We're going to have to wait and see, but Aftyn Behn is performing really, really well in the areas that she needs to, which is pretty much everywhere in the district, but she's really doing well in Davidson and really doing well in Montgomery, which is complete reversals of 2024. These areas were a 19-point victory in Montgomery, and Nashville was around 37 points. And she is blowing out the margin in Davidson at an 80-point lead right now. Montgomery, a 3-point lead for the Democrat this time around. So absolutely what the Democrats want to see out of these races right now, out of these districts, out of these counties. Aftyn Behn is definitely doing what she needs to do. We're just going to have to wait for more votes to come in and see if this ultimately holds up for Aftyn Behn. But out of the early votes that have come in, she's definitely liking what she's seeing right now. Over 1,168 of you have watched so far since I started the stream. 134 of you watching right now. Thank you guys so much for taking your time to watch this. Honestly, only 8:49 p.m., so only 8:49, not even an hour from the polls closing. We already have almost half the votes in, so it's definitely going by quick. Going by pretty quick tonight. Let's see. I don't think I've missed any chats yet. For the poll that I have going, definitely this is the closest I've seen it thus far. The poll, Matt Van Epps, Aftyn Behn, who do you think is going to win? Van Epps is leading 51, Aftyn Behn 49. Now it's 50-50. I mean, yeah, can't blame you. At the start of the night, it was like, is this going to be a likely Republican win? Now I don't know. Now Aftyn Behn's in a pretty strong position to maybe pull this out. We're going to have to wait and see how the rest of the vote comes in, especially does the margins hold or do they get more red than Aftyn Behn's currently leading right now, but it's going to be very close. 7:49 in my area. I live in Texas, Central Standard Time. Nice. Now 7:50. Yep. So just waiting. But I mean, so far, this is definitely following in the footsteps of the other special elections that have taken place in 2025. Like I mentioned at the start of the stream, Florida won. The margin was about 14 points or so, essentially cut in half plus an extra 5 points from what it was in 2024. Florida 6, Randy Fine, Josh Wheel, Democrat way outperformed in that election. Virginia 11, safe Democratic district, but the Democrat way outperformed. Arizona 7, Democrat outperformed. Now Tennessee 7, shaping up to be the exact same type of election. If the question is going to be asked, is this a indicator for 2026? It is an off-year election, so special election, off-year, doesn't always 100% carry over, but the Democrats have outperformed in every single one. Looks like we've got a few more votes now. Van Epps went up 0.5%, now a 2.8% lead for Aftyn Behn. Let's go down, see here where the numbers have come in. Perry County now at 95%, so that seems to be where the numbers came in from. Perry County at 75-23. So overall, what's that? About a 52% win out of Perry County. In 2024, Perry County was 81-18. So another area with all the votes essentially in, Aftyn Behn outperforming from 2024. Yeah, I'm from, okay, I think I can do this, Nevada. I'm from Nevada, and I've commented to tell him not to say Nevada multiple times. Yep. You all heard it on the live stream. I said Nevada. I got it right that time. You all heard that. Yeah. But, yep. 47% in, 50.8 to 48. And, yeah, not really too much to update because the votes haven't gone up too much, but Aftyn Behn's in a strong position. Just waiting to see how it all goes. Nashville's going to be interesting to watch for as well because 56% in, can Aftyn Behn hold that margin of that 80-point lead is going to be really important to watch for as more votes come in. If she can hold that margin of 85-50, and once all the votes are in, I wouldn't be shocked if either Aftyn Behn wins or if she loses this race by like less than 1 point if it ends up holding that margin. Montgomery County is going to be really interesting to watch for as well as these votes ultimately come in because Behn's leading a Republican plus 19 county from 2024 by Democrat plus 3 right now. So this is going to be very important to see overall. Does this hold up as well? By population thus far with the votes that have come in, Davidson's up at 21,000, Montgomery's at 19,000, Dixon's at 7,200, Robertson's nearing that at 6,800, Cheatham is at 6,200, Hickman's near 3,000, Decatur is at 2,500, Humphreys 2,100, Wayne 1,800, Stewart 1,700. I think we just got some more votes in as well. Matt Van Epps went up another 0.5%, 48.5. Let's see where those votes came out of. Not 95%. Houston's up to 83% in. Wayne's at 85% in as well. So those may have been where the votes came out of. Wayne's at 84-15. And Houston, Houston, here we go. 72-27, 83% in. Let's see. Brian says, you're lucky to be from Nevada because it's a lean D state. I think I'm honestly 2 for 2 right now. I'm pronouncing it. I always pronounce Nevada. Yeah. Oh, just got some more votes. 58% of the vote in. Now it is Matt Van Epps nearly up 49.56 to 49.29. And the votes looks like they came out of Williamson County, the last county we're waiting for votes to come in. With 53% in, Van Epps is at 55-44, an 11% lead in this county. That's honestly very big for Matt Van Epps, but let's look at the margins here. 65-33 back in 2024. So a 32-point lead, now an 11-point lead. So again, that trend continues of Aftyn Behn outperforming the 2024 Democrat election by about 20 points or so. That trend, even in the red area, seems to be continuing at this current point in time. But Matt Van Epps has retaken the lead over Aftyn Behn. But look at these numbers: 49.58, 49.27, 46,774 votes to 46,476 votes. Basically, just doing quick math here, that's about 300 votes. About 300 votes separating Matt Van Epps and Aftyn Behn, the Republican and the Democrat. 300 votes separating them in this Republican plus 22-point district from 2024. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. Blue Wave. Oh, I missed your comment. Sorry, Blue Wave. Also, personally, for governor, if Aaron starts running in open primaries, I would seriously reconsider a lean GOP prediction because there are way more independents in Nevada than Dems or Republicans. Also, that's the first I'm hearing that, but I do recall Nevada. Almost did it. Nevada having a lot more independents. I do recall that. You should see my message about Nevada. I just did it twice. Nevada Gov. See, every now and again, it's like it seeps through. I should know how to say Nevada, but I keep saying Nevada by accident. No surprise, Tennessee is a place called Houston, since other areas have popular city names. Oh, interesting. It's like 29% Dem and GOP, and then like 35% independent. Interesting. So Nevada could be an interesting state then, also very early on, obviously, but for 2028. As it voted for Biden, I think by, I want to say 3 points in 2020, and Hillary Clinton was around 3 points as well in 2016, and Trump won it in 2024. That could be an interesting state to watch for in 2028 then with all the independents. Does it flip back to the Democrats in 2028, or to the Republicans, whether it's Vance or Rubio or DeSantis, do they win it and keep it red as well? That'll be an interesting state to watch for. So now 58% of the vote in, Matt Van Epps has retaken the lead, but this is definitely a very, very close race that's looking like it's going to come down to the wire as more votes come in. But I mean, certainly when we do the recap of this race in the days to come, Matt Van Epps is definitely underperforming Mark Green, and Aftyn Behn's really overperforming the past few Democratic candidates. Definitely voter enthusiasm and turnout is very high on the Democratic side. Let's see. And I live in the Houston Metroplex, born in Houston, but now I live in a suburb outside of Houston. Oh, awesome. Personally, I'm not worried about Nevada being red because of Trump's trash approval rating with Latinos and independents. Yeah, definitely could be. I think I saw that Las Vegas is also having some problems as well with, I think it was it defaulting on something? There was some economy or financial problem that Las Vegas was having that could potentially play a role both in 2026 and in 2028 that might flip it back to the Democrats based on how elections usually work on that. 58% of the votes are now in. Matt Van Epps is leading 49.72 to Aftyn Behn's 49.14. So it's gone up a little bit. Matt Van Epps is now leading by around 500 votes in the race. Still very, very close. Only 0.6% separating Van Epps and Aftyn Behn in this race. So far it does seem that as more votes have come in, that the early vote in the beginning was more Democratic, and now the more votes that are coming in later on are going to be more red. But again, 58% in, still got some more votes to come out of Montgomery County, although 59% is in here, so we did get some more votes, and the margin went down a little bit. Now it's 2 points for Aftyn Behn over Matt Van Epps, so it was 3. And in Nashville, Davidson County, still 55% in, 85-15. I can still see Nevada being lean D category for the future. Definitely could be. Yeah, it definitely could be. Especially if in 2028, if 2024 was like a very big year for the President Trump and the Republicans to kind of like get back and pretty much do like their best. I wonder if 2028 maybe kind of like the flip of that, where the Democrats kind of have like a resurgence and they kind of do like their best for 2028. That could be a potential scenario as well. Based on the numbers right now, 50% Van Epps, 49% for Behn. Estimated votes remaining. Looks like they're relatively even from the amount of votes that are in. Van Epps does have slightly more votes left to go than Aftyn Behn, but certainly relatively even race going on right now. But yeah, this is very interesting how close this race is right now with almost about 60% of the vote in. I haven't done the overall candidates that are all on the ballot right now, so let me just go through this. John Thorpe, the independent's getting 0.5%. So when we checked earlier in the night, he actually went down to 0.5. Teresa Christie is at 0.4. Bobby Dodge 0.13, and Robert Sotheby 0.11. Overall, though, 49.8 to 49.06. It's also 8:59 p.m. now, so about an hour or so since the polls have closed, and we already have 58% of the vote in. As for the total votes that are currently in, roughly about 94,960 votes are now in total counted. We can look at the counties by overall numbers here. We do have Perry County at over 95%, Decatur over 95%, and Wayne at over 95%. These are the three counties that essentially are all in. There is potentially less than 100 votes remaining from these three counties that are in. Also, this is the first time I'm seeing this, that the New York Times has here. The portion of the county in the 7th district includes a very Democratic part of Nashville, which is also the city's most majority black precinct. The reported margin thus far is 70 points. The estimate final margin is Democrat plus 59, an estimated 17,000 votes remaining out of that area. Let's see here. Talarico wins the Democratic primary in March, and Paxton won his party primary. Texas could become the next lean D state, joining Nevada, Michigan, Wisconsin, Georgia, and North Carolina. Interesting. I think even with Paxton versus Talarico, I think that's probably the closest matchup the Senate race for Texas could be. I still think it overall, though, does stay lean Republican just because Texas is such a red state. Like, it did vote for Trump, I believe, by 13 points. So I think it would probably be like a under 5-point Republican win. I don't think it'd be lean Democrat, but I think at the very least it'd be very close. I don't know if it would flip Democrat, though. Captain Price II said, "Hey guys, I think we lost." Interesting. Still very close, but yeah, interesting. 49.8, 49.6 of the race right now with, 42% of the vote to go. But yeah, so just waiting for more votes to come in. But I mean, I think Matt Van Epps leading at this point, 49.8 is definitely it's a better sign for him that he's leading now. Aftyn Behn performing so well in Nashville. In Montgomery County is still good, but we have to wait and see how the votes come in out of Montgomery and out of Davidson County. Once those votes come in, I think we're going to get a pretty clear sign at how this race is going. If these margins hold in Nashville for sure in Davidson County, I think Aftyn Behn could definitely win. But if the margins go down and if Clarksville and Montgomery County's margins stay the same or maybe go down a little bit as well, Matt Van Epps may pull out the victory. But definitely I think too close to say for sure right now. Hey guys, I think we lost, but there's still hope for the Democrats. Yep. I mean, this is a very close race right now. I mean, just waiting for votes out of Nashville in Montgomery, but definitely a very, very close race at this moment in time. Overall, since the stream started, over 1,900 views, 1,903 views since I started. Thank you all so much for taking your time to watch this. I really appreciate that. And got over 140 people watching live right now. So thank you so much. I also forgot to put Arizona. I think Texas should be back to being friendly towards both parties like it was in the 90s and before. Definitely could be. Definitely could. I know before 2024 in 2020, Texas was what? It was I want to say Trump plus 5.6 or 5.5 win. So it could be going back to that. As for Arizona was a 5-point win for Trump in 2024. I wouldn't be shocked if that swung back at all as well. Calculate half the vote in from most counties. Van Epps can pick up 10,000 from those Republican counties. The half of Davidson will go to Aftyn after the final win, waiting to see Williamson. Let's see, 60% of the vote in now. Van Epps is up to 50.7. Baines at 48.2. Bobby Dodge is an independent affiliated with the Elon's America Party. He's currently at 0.13. I did not know that. Mark the US said, "Hey guys, I think we won." And then Blue Wave said, "Look at what I said about Texas." Is that on this or is that on a different video? I think it's probably on a different video, but I'll look after the stream to look for that. Got some more votes in now, 62%, up to 51.4 for Matt Van Epps, Aftyn Behn to 47.5. No more votes, I don't think, out of Montgomery, and Davidson's still 55, so... Oh, no, it's in the chat? Oh. Okay, let me scroll up. Let me see if I can find it. Nevada... I found the My Chemical Romance one. That's funny. Maine. Oh wait, it was towards the beginning of it. Okay. Yeah, I think I remember where it is now. I think we're talking about, was it Jasmine Crockett and Tallarico? Is that what we're talking about? Okay, I won't go back any farther. For some reason, I'm missing it. If you want to retype it, you can. I just scrolled to the back of it. I can't find it for some reason. Yeah, I found the one talking about Maine and Graham Plattner, but I can't find the Texas one for some reason. But I don't know. That's interesting. Okay, so now 64% of the vote is in, 52.3 for Matt Van Epps. Aftyn Behn is at 46.7. It's starting to look like that Matt Van Epps is starting to pull away a little bit, but I still want to just wait totally for more votes out of Montgomery County and Davidson County before I can say that for sure. But definitely looks like we're getting more votes out of the Republican areas, and Matt Van Epps is starting to get more votes in. Yeah, when you look at the amount of votes that are in, you see Van Epps already has, just got a big vote dump here. 67% of the votes are in. Van Epps is at 52.9, and Aftyn Behn to 46.1, and there you go. 71% of the vote is now in out of Montgomery County, and it flipped away from Aftyn Behn. It was 50-48 for Behn over Van Epps. Now Van Epps is leading 51-47. Again, this is still very significant because Van Epps is leading over Behn by 4 points in this when it was a Republican plus 19-point victory in 2024. But when you compare it to how the rest of the map was looking, going from Republican plus 19 to Republican plus 4, it is a very significant trend towards the Democrat, but it's not going to be enough in all likelihood for Aftyn Behn to win, considering that it was Democrat plus 2, Democrat plus 3. Nashville was Democrat plus 70, which probably when more votes come in will probably go more towards the Republicans. So it's looking like Matt Van Epps is probably going to hold on and win this race if the margins that came in out of that new vote dump out of Montgomery are consistent and happen throughout the district. But overall, yeah, I would say Matt Van Epps is probably going to win this race now. And those margins coming from the early vote that came in that were pro-Democrat, now as more election day vote comes in that was more Republican, looking like Matt Van Epps is probably going to win. But again, we're going to wait for all the votes to come in before saying that for sure. I said that Crockett's decision was stupid and could screw over the Dems in the general. Oh, okay. No, yeah, for some reason I was looking through the chat, I couldn't find that one. No, I agree. I personally agree with that. I think Tallarico gives the Democrats the best chance of winning the general. I think Crockett would be very good for the Democrats in terms of getting a lot of attention nationally about that race. In terms of electability in Texas, I definitely agree with that. Clarksville switched. Yep, just came in. Clarksville switched. Now Van Epps is up 51-47. But my Texas message was like 7 messages ago. Okay. Betting odds have her losing by 10 to 14 points. Interesting. Is that Nashville can post up 10K plurality for Ben? Okay, so 10K plurality. Right now, Van Epps is leading about 8,000 votes or so. 58,237, 50,127. So it sounds like then for Aftyn Behn, once all the votes are counted out of Montgomery, she's trying to basically be under 10,000 net statewide and hoping Nashville for her could get an extra 10,000 for her to win. Okay. Interesting. Mark, thank you for crunching the numbers in that one, Mark, as well. I really appreciate you doing that. Over 2,200 viewers since the start of the stream, over 150 in right now. Thank you so much all for watching. 67% of the vote in. Matt Van Epps is up to 53.2%. Aftyn Behn, 45.8%. Definitely very big, important vote drop out of Montgomery, up to 71%. Still waiting for the last 29% or so out of there, and really waiting for the next 45% out of Davidson County and Nashville. Definitely waiting out of those two areas. Overall, for the votes thus far, Perry and Houston are now in. Benton is now in as well. I don't think Benton was in the last time we checked. It's now 77-21. Again, a smaller county, definitely a red county, not a whole lot of votes there, but 77-21 now. And Decatur's at 95%, Wayne's at 95%. Still a lot of outstanding vote to go in a lot of these counties, including the two largest in the state in Montgomery and Davidson. Williamson at 65% in does have 18,000 total votes reported. Williamson also up to 59-40 now, so it was the 11-point lead. Now it's up to a 19-point lead for Van Epps over Behn. Got a few more votes, up to 0.2% added to Van Epps' advantage there. Let's see. I may be overestimating the polls, but usually they predict the winner most of the time, and I predicted Epps to win while I support Behn, and all the polls has Epps in the lead. Yeah, I mean, going into this, I would say for sure, I know my prediction, like as I mentioned earlier, was likely for the Republican around a 6-point win. And yeah, the polls did show that Epps was favored to win this race. I think I have, yeah. So the 3 polls that were conducted, one from Emerson showed it a very close race at a 2-point lead for Epps over Behn. Impact Research and Workbench Strategy, 2 Democratic pollsters, showed Van Epps leading by both likely margins, around 52-44, around a 8-point lead or so. So Van Epps leading over Aftyn Behn's not really too much of a surprise. It's what the polls predicted, but a lot of enthusiasm in the last few days from the Democrats and Trump and Mike Johnson doing, I believe it was a, I know Mike Johnson was in person, but Trump kind of calling into the race, trying to get Republicans out to vote for Matt Van Epps. Certainly was a lot of enthusiasm for the Democrats, trying to get them out to win, or out to vote and out to try and win this race. But I mean, again, this was a Republican plus 22 district, and the fact that it's even under 10 points is already a good sign for the Democrat Aftyn Behn. But overall, earlier on in the day, about half an hour ago, it looked like Aftyn Behn could potentially win this race, especially if Montgomery stayed for Aftyn Behn. Now it's 70% of the vote in, 51-47. I think it's possible the Democrat could win, but I think it's more likely than not that we're going to see Matt Van Epps probably pull this out. Poll predictions, get it correct 99% of the time and incorrect 1% of the time. I typed my text message again and you didn't see it again. I don't know. I'm looking at the chat right now. For some reason, I'm not seeing it. I'm definitely, I swear to God, I'm not doing this on purpose. I'm looking at the chat and I'm not seeing it. Is it getting blocked for some reason? I mean, it shouldn't be. I don't think I have that setting enabled. It should be there. See, I just got your message that said I typed my Texas message and here's one more time, but for some reason there's not another one after it for some reason. So for some reason that message I'm just not getting. Is it in live chat? Okay, here we go. For some reason on the chat part that I was on, I didn't get it, but when I just switched it to live chat, now I see it. Okay. Think what's going to take for Texas to go blue is the Dems gaining among white people like they have and reverse their gains among Latino. You need another Beto in this blue or Texas. That's how. Okay, yeah, I mean, definitely. I think that definitely makes sense. I think, so that's going to be a good question then. Who do you think the best Democrat is to do it? Do you think that's James Tallarico? Do you think he can do it? Do you think, I assume Colin Allred probably can't do it based on how 2024 went against Ted Cruz, but could Tallarico do it? I don't think Jasmine Crockett could. Do you think Beto O'Rourke could do it? I don't know if he'll have the same, like, sort of luster and such that he did back in 2018, but that could definitely be it. Okay, so I'll just leave it. I had it on the top chat thing, but I'll leave it on live chat just so I should be able to get all the messages now. There shouldn't be anything. The poll also right now, I did a poll for the stream of who you think is going to win. Aftyn Behn's at 53%. Matt Van Epps is at 47%. Betting sites have only been wrong a few times, like when they had Hillary winning in a landslide. That's true. Okay, so yeah, I'll leave it on live chat because it seems to be all the messages are coming in. And yep, as I scroll to the top now in the live chat, I can definitely see Blue Wave. I can see all the comments that you're leading. So okay, that issue shouldn't pop up again. I think it's Tallarico. Colin is dumb for running again. Fun fact: he and I share a first name. Oh, that's interesting. However, James would be such a juxtaposition: a devout Christian versus a corrupt adulterer. Yeah, definitely. I think honestly, I agree. I think Tallarico is the strongest Democrat for that race. if it's especially Paxton versus Tallarico, I think that race could get very, very close and very, very interesting. Again, if 2026 ends up being this great Democratic midterm wave year, I mean, I don't know if Tallarico would win, but at very least, it's going to be under 5 points and it could be very close. And maybe, you never know. You never know if an upset can be pulled or not. I mean, we'll have to wait and see. Not even close. Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting. An interesting conversation between Paxton and Tallarico. Beto wouldn't win a Texas General, especially any time after his hell yes, we're going to take your AR-15. Yeah, that's true. Definitely in Texas, it's not going to play too well. Oh, just got some more votes. 72% of the votes are in. Matt Van Epps now is 52%. Aftyn Behn, 46.9%. Let's see, no more votes yet out of Montgomery, but we did get some more votes out of Davidson County, out of Nashville. It's 82-17 for Behn versus Van Epps. So I think the margins of her lead went down a little bit, but it's still a very large lead here. Let's see, it's now a 65-point lead. So overall, the lead for Behn over Van Epps in Davidson County went down approximately 5 points. So still, though, Aftyn Behn's leading by a very large margin out of Davidson, but definitely went down a little bit. Now 74% in, and I think, let's see, the more votes come out of Montgomery County, 80% in, 51-48. That may have been it, as more votes have come in, but just got a few more votes as well. 76% in. Van Epps is now up to 52.3 to 46.7. Yeah, if Montgomery's Republican +3, that's down about 16 points from 2024. Nashville 82-17 definitely is a very good performance for Aftyn Behn over Matt Van Epps, but based on how the rest of the district is going, looks like Matt Van Epps may have just enough support to nearly hold on and win this race. But again, we're going to have to wait and see all the votes come in out of Nashville and out of Clarksville to be sure, but I think Matt Van Epps winning a narrow victory seems to be where things are going right now. Even if Cornyn makes it out of this, which I don't know if you saw this, I watched Let's Talk Elections. There was a poll showing a Trump-endorsed Cornyn still loses again. He'll be very weak and low energy. Actually, I did not see that yet. I didn't really watch any YouTube videos today, though. I didn't watch any LTE videos or anything, but today. But I don't know. I mean, it's interesting because Trump's endorsement in the Republican primary does hold a lot of weight, even if in the general election it doesn't have as anywhere near as much weight as it does in the primary. If Trump did endorse Cornyn, and maybe like a Lindsey Graham effect where a lot of Republicans may still dislike him and not vote for him anyway, but if the primary were held today, I do think Ken Paxton would probably win. But also the way Wesley Hunt is having an effect on that primary right now is also very interesting as well. Do you also watch the channel Political Excess? I really don't watch a ton of the other election prediction website channels. I do sometimes check in just to see what they've uploaded, what they're doing and stuff. I don't really watch too much of them because I'm kind of making like my own videos and kind of taking time to make them as well. So I don't really have a ton of time to do it. Also, I try and make more shorts now. I'm trying to do at least one short every day, so I've been doing a lot of time doing that. So I have watched LTE in the past. I have watched Political Excess in the past, but recently I haven't really had too much time to watch them. I know Blue Wave just said that he doesn't as well, but I mean, any of these guys, LTE, Political Excess, like any of them that do these videos and make these, I mean, all power to them. Like, great for them that they're doing that. Now we're up to 77% of the vote in across the district. Van Epps is up 52.7 to 46.3. An internal poll released by Cornyn shows Cornyn beating Ken by 2 points. Interesting. An internal poll only had him up 2 points. That's definitely not good. If Cornyn's internal poll only shows him up 2, that's definitely not good. Yeah, so Paxton's definitely ahead right now. If it's only a 2-point lead in the internal, for sure. Let's look at the amount of votes that are in. According to this, it says they're forecasting Van Epps has more outstanding votes than Ben, is on track to receive roughly 53% of the final vote. Okay, interesting. Overall percentages, 95% of the vote is now in Perry, Houston, Benton, Decatur, Wayne, but we're seeing a lot more votes now. Pretty much over 70% of the vote in every single county now. Davidson, 71. So Nashville is either the lowest or second lowest in terms of overall vote that is left. Meaning, like, there's still the most votes to go, or second most votes to go in Nashville. So that is good news for Aftyn Behn. But it's looking like it's going to be close, but there may just not be enough votes left out there for sure for Aftyn Behn to pull it out at this current rate that it's going right now, especially with Van Epps leading 66,729 to 58,693. I know the earlier comment talked about 10,000 net votes or so going to be made up out of Nashville and out of Davidson County, but based on the margins right now, as more votes have come in, unlike with what New Jersey did back in November, whereas the night went on, we're expecting more election day votes to come in and make the state go more red, and it really didn't. This time around in this district, it does seem to be the case. Obviously, that makes sense considering New Jersey is more of a blue state, and this district is more of a red district. It voted Republican plus 22 back in 2024. So it seems, even though it was a lot closer, or this race is a lot closer, it's not been called yet, it does look like Matt Van Epps is narrowly going to hold on and win this race. It's not going to be by a very large margin. I think I had it Republican plus 6. It may end up being Republican plus 6 exactly, but all eyes still on Nashville and Montgomery County, but I think it's more likely Matt Van Epps is going to pull this out and win this race. Cornyn being in third place, last place in the recent GOP primary poll, is funny and will never not be funny to me. I mean, a Republican, or not even a Republican, but an incumbent U.S. Senator in a three-way race being third, I mean, that just kind of is objectively funny. Mark Allison said affordability is a hoax. I did see that quote online. I think it was on Accident Newswire posted. I did see that. You can't compare a special election to a presidential cycle. Turnout doesn't match. This means nothing. No, it's true. It doesn't. It doesn't line up exactly. But comparing the margins of the 2024 one to this is really the only best indicator we have to go off of. But still, the margins needed for Aftyn Behn to win was roughly about a 22 to 23 point overperformance from 2024 in those margins. So I'm not comparing it 100%. I'm comparing it on the percentages from 24 to 2025. And in some areas, Aftyn Behn's hitting that mark. But in some areas, as more votes have come in, like in Nashville, the margins have gone down just enough where she's not exactly hitting that threshold that she needs to overall win. 79% of the vote is now in, 52.9 to 46.1 for Matt Van Epps over Aftyn Behn. By the way, Blue Wave said by the way, I liked LTE and left this channel for a while, mainly because I thought it was a little too conservative, not politically, but I saw Georgia as a bluer state because of what I said earlier, so I felt like he was more right. But I like this channel because I can comment to you and you're very down to earth. Well, firstly, I appreciate it. I appreciate you saying that the channel, I can comment to you and that you're very down to earth. I really appreciate that. And yeah, I'm honestly, in all my videos, I try my best just to say what I think is going on. I'm not trying to go one way or the other and be right or left or anything like that. I'm just trying to do what I think is what is going on and kind of how I see it. So I'm never trying to be left or right. I'm trying to just be about as truthful and down the middle as I can. But I also have been trying to respond to more comments and reach out obviously to you guys, to the community more and stuff. So that's definitely been a goal of mine as well, to be more involved with that. But no, I appreciate that. I really appreciate you doing that. Deeds 2025 said, I'm a right moderate, appreciate the middle path. Yeah, definitely. It's just I just try and just see it as I say it. I'm not trying to let my own views affect how I see it. Like, again, Georgia, for instance, I mean, come on. It's good. Like, John Ossoff's probably going to win that one. Michigan could go red. It could go blue. We'll have to wait and see. John Ossoff's probably going to win Georgia. Like, I'm trying not to let personal politics affect it too much where I go one way or the other. Like, I just try and do what I think is going to be, what I think is actually going to happen. And I try not to let that other stuff affect me too much. Now, we got some more votes in. 81% in. 71,267 for Van Epps. Baines at 60,685. Now it's about an 8-point lead for Van Epps over Behn. This is interesting because now it's outside that 10,000 margin the earlier comment said about out of Nashville, that Nashville can net about 10,000 votes or so. If that remains, Matt Van Epps is going to win this race because there's just not enough votes right now based on how the percentages are going to overall do that. Let's see. I've been watching LTE since 2017. I remember he was more right-leaning during the 16-17 period, but because his answer was no to a question asking if undocumented immigrants deserve health care. It said, when I mean too conservative, meant you wouldn't really make assumptions to any risk, even though I saw them as very likely to happen. But I like you. Oh, okay, I see what you mean. You mean conservative in terms of like going bold with the predictions. I gotcha. But I like you as a guy a lot, and the center is respectable. Well, firstly, liking me as the guy, I really appreciate it. It's very kind of you to say that. Very nice of you to say that. So I really do appreciate it. I see, honestly, in all the videos, you're always one of the top commenters, one of the most often to comment. So I really appreciate you doing that, taking the time out of your day to do that. I really appreciate that. And the centrism is respectable as well. Yeah, I think I just honestly, it's just, like I said, just doing what I think is kind of, what I think is actually going on. Like, I'm never trying to go one way or the other, and like, in terms of like putting one party up or one party down. It's just kind of calling it how I see it at the time. It was on those I Side With quizzes he was answering questions to. Oh, okay. I don't think I've done one of those in like a really long time. Oh, we just got more votes also out of Montgomery County. Now it's 51-47 for Van Epps over Aftyn Behn. So about a 4-point lead for Van Epps there. Yeah, it's just, I mean, as more of the votes come in, now 19% of the votes left to go for this district, it's looking more and more likely Matt Van Epps is going to win this. There's not enough votes, I don't think, out of Nashville remaining, though Aftyn Behn is winning overall, roughly about 18,000 net votes out of Davidson County. And I don't see, unless I'm missing something, I don't see enough votes for Aftyn Behn to come in and make up the margin and win this race. I mean, it's possible, but I think Matt Van Epps pretty much has this race at this current point in time. I'm doing the live stream, I'm not checking Twitter or anything, but I'm a little surprised that usually Decision Desk HQ is one of the first to call it. I know in 2025 for the governor elections, they called it early on. I'm kind of surprised they haven't made a call yet in this race. 81% in. I feel like that's kind of something that they tend to do, but I won't be shocked if in the next few minutes we see a call come in. And mainly, not only usually, I wouldn't be shocked to see a call come in the next few minutes because of how fast the votes are coming in. I mean, it's 9:25. We already have 81% of the vote in. It's going really, really quick. Roughly around 133,000 votes are in. Van Epps leading 53.5 to 45.5. Let's see. It was on those. I saw that one. And obviously, he's going more left leaning by now. I mean, for sure. And honestly, LTE, obviously, he has his own channel. All power to him. However he wants to do it. I mean, it's all up to him. I don't have any problem with how he's running his channel. I mean, he's obviously he's got a lot larger of a following than I do, but he can, honestly, all power to him. Matt Van Epps, 53.5, 45.5 for Behn, and still at 81% in. I think a lot of these counties pretty much in now. 95% from Perry, Houston, Benton, Decatur, and Wayne. So these smaller red counties are now in. Still waiting on 25% of the vote out of Humphreys. Stewart, 92% is pretty much all in. Maybe a few more, 250 more votes there. Cheatham, 85%. The vote in there. Hickman, 75%. Robertson, 70%. Dixon, 95% of the vote in out of Dixon. So one of the top 5 larger counties in the district is now 95% in. So still waiting some more votes out of Montgomery, about 5,000 there. Davidson, roughly about 11,000 votes remaining out of there. And 6,000 out of Williamson. Actually, before I move on, I did want to say kind of a fun fact on, not on this account, but on my personal account. I was subscribed to LTE really early on, actually. So I made this account, this channel back in 2018. I remember having a screenshot of being subscribed to LTE when LTE had I want to say it was 2,000 or 3,000 subscribers. So actually it was kind of early on with that one, but now obviously I don't have as much time now. I don't check his videos out as often, but yeah, on my personal one, I started watching him when I was 2,000 subscribers or something. So it's kind of been a while for that. So it's kind of crazy to see him, because sometimes I saw that screenshot would pop up in the thing on the Photos app, where I'd be oh, the memories or whatever. It'd be subscribed him in 2000. Now he's a 150 or something like that. He's at some crazy number now. It's oh wow. 88% of the vote in, and we just got a big vote game for Aftyn Behn here, 47.9. This had to come out of Nashville. Yep, Davidson County now over 95% of the vote in. Behn is at 80% to 19% over Matt Van Epps. That's a big one. That's the big vote dump that we were waiting for. Overall, being a 61-point victory for Behn and over Van Epps in Nashville. Okay, so definitely a very strong improvement from 2024. There's still roughly, according to this, less than 2,000 votes remaining. But district-wide, Van Epps is leading over Behn 73,994 to 69,323. About 4,600 votes or so left outstanding. So even all the votes in Davidson County, if they broke for Aftyn Behn, it wouldn't be enough to get over Matt Van Epps at 88% in. So definitely looks like it's going to be very, very close when all the votes are in. But I think Matt Van Epps is right around the margins he needs to win. So very close race. Has not officially been called yet, but at 88% in, feeling pretty strongly Matt Van Epps is going to hold on and win here. Still some more votes to go out of Montgomery. Still some more votes to go out of Davidson. Not a lot, but a few thousands of votes there. But roughly about 2,000 out of Davidson, 5,000 Montgomery, Williamson, 2,000. There's enough votes left out there for Aftyn Behn to make up the margin, but they would have to essentially all go for her. And based on the percentages that are happening right now, I don't think there's going to be enough votes for Aftyn Behn to make up the margin over Matt Van Epps. Now, 90% of the vote in, so 2 more percent of the vote is in. Matt Van Epps, very close race, under 5 points right now, about a 4-point lead, 51.5, 47.4, so a very close race. And I had it Republican, I think I had a Republican +6, it's Republican +4 right now, so honestly, based on how my 2025 predictions went with Virginia and New Jersey and all that, this one's looking pretty good compared to the other ones, but definitely looking like Matt Van Epps is in the lead right now. Let's see here. Blue Wave said, also sorry, Red Eagle kind of said dumb stuff. Like I think he said that Texas is an open primary state. The Dems would all vote for Cornyn. Don't quote me, but I swear he said that. Honestly, I hadn't seen him say that, but I'll take your word for it. Matt will win because people will listen to Trump more than anyone else. It seems to me that election prediction YouTube channels began popping out and off and rising after Trump's 2016 victory in late 2010s and early 2020s. He's been, election predictions, EPO, he's been around for a while too. Him, I think, honestly, in the 2020 cycle and 2024 cycle, I probably watched him the most out of, like, elections. I know the ones I can name are Election Time, LTE, Red Eagle, and EPO. Of the, like, big 4 ones, I think I probably watched EPO the best, or the most. And I think it's because, honestly, when he did the election nights, his graphics are just really, really good. So, definitely, I think I probably watched him the most. Sinton said, Fox is doing a stand-up out of Van Epps HQ. Davidson makes it under 4% race. Yep, just saw results come in. Also, another thing, Andy Bashir is the strongest guy for 2028. He won't change my mind anytime soon. He's how the Dems won back Ohio and Iowa. And Fox is behind you on votes and percentage-wise. Yeah, I mean, New York Times I always like for election results because for some reason they always seem to get the results in really quick. Like, probably not as quick as like Twitter or like Decision Desk HQ, but New York Times always seem to get their votes in really quick. So there's always kind of been the news outlet that I always use for results to come in for election nights. I also think just it kind of like New York Times, CNN, Politico, and all of them. I kind of just think New York Times kind of looks the best in terms of the votes come in, how they lay it out and stuff. But yeah, definitely that. As for Blue Wave, your combo, Andy Bashir. I don't disagree. Okay, with Andy Bashir, I don't disagree. My only thing with Andy Bashir is I think for him to be the best Democratic candidate, he'd actually have to win the Democratic primary. And I just think right now, with how the Democrats are responding to Trump, I think the Democrats want someone that is a very vocal fighter. And that's someone like Gavin Newsom or even maybe AOC. I don't think it's going to be someone that's more in the, I don't know if moderate's the right word, but more in like the, I guess, yeah, I'll just say more of the more moderate wing of the Democratic primary. I think if Andy Bashir got to a general election, I think he would have a very strong chance of being like the strongest Democratic candidate. I just don't think he's going to be able to get through the Democratic primary, which is why I'm kind of like skeptical of having that conversation. But if he did, I think like he would have a very strong chance in the general election and probably would beat either Vance or Rubio or DeSantis by a pretty decent amount. Kind of how Trump won every swing state in 2024, I wouldn't be shocked to see Bashir do the same thing in 28. Some more votes just came in. 0.4% lead for Van Epps. 51.9, 47.1. He's up now. Let's see. Quick math here. 47.1. Overall, roughly about a 4.8% lead, with 92% of the vote in. Let's see. Clarksville still 86% in. 80-19 still out of Nashville. Let's see what's come in. Still 95% in the key areas we checked before that. Davidson's still 95% in. So overall, I think we're still waiting on 151,480 votes have been reported. Still probably waiting roughly on like 10,000 votes or so to come in. I think it's under 10,000 votes lead for Van Epps over Behn. So they're probably not going to call the race just yet. But relatively, we're pretty much close to being done. That I think of this race. I think Matt Van Epps is going to win. It's going to be definitely close. Way different than the Republican plus 22 margin from 2024. But I think Matt Van Epps, when all the votes are in, is going to narrowly hold on and win this race. Let's see. Just saw some more chats coming in. NBC is the one that I'm looking at. Called it 10 minutes ago. Okay, interesting. Okay, so NBC actually. NBC called it before New York Times. Interesting, very interesting. You can't fix ignorance from Maria Welling. Blue says, but he gives very big Jimmy Carter vibes. Carter won after admins with much corruption. And what's going on here with Bashir and the Trump admin? Also, if anyone could win like Ohio. I don't disagree with Bashir. I think would probably. I don't know if he'd win Ohio and Iowa, but at very least he would definitely make it the most competitive. And if any Democrat has a chance of doing it, it would be him. I agree with you on that. I don't know if it's the right political. It may be the right political environment where there'll be so many people running in the Democratic primary, he may be able to squeak through and win. I just think it's going to be Newsom. I think is going to be in the top 3 for the Democrats. If AOC runs, I think she'll be up there as well. I just think there's going to be so many people running. I don't know if Bashir's going to be able to squeeze through. It also doesn't help that the early polling is at 1 to 2% in most polls. But if hypothetically Bashir did find a way to get to the Democratic primary, I would agree with you. He's at the top of the list for strongest Democrats. I find Newsom and Harris subjectively unfavorable Dems, but I hope a strong and favorable Dem is nominated in 28. Yeah, I just think it's I think the Democratic Party, at least for how I see it right now, I think the Democrats are going to want someone that's very vocal and against Trump right now, and Newsom and Harris and AOC are kind of at the top of the list right now. Maybe that changes over the next few years, but I kind of think that's how they go right now. But obviously we're in 2025. Things can definitely change. I got a few more votes, 93% in, 52.2 to 46.8. Still remaining the way it's been the last few minutes or so. Matt Van Epps certainly very close to officially getting the call and winning this race. For AOC, I'm not sure how I feel about her candidate quality. I agree with most of her views, but I'm not exactly sure how she would do in a general election. Also, Bluer said, also maybe another hot take. Nathan Sage is better than Turek or Walz for Senate in Iowa. That's all the Iowa Senate race. That one I haven't researched too much. I'm not sure because I think when Joni Ernst was running for re-election, I thought that Nathan Sage could have made the race really close. Now that she's not running and it's Ashley Benson, I don't really think that race is going to be too close. It is possible, given that 2026 may be very strong for the Democrats, that it could be close maybe anyway. But Sage, Turek, Walz, I mean, Sage may be marginally better, but I think overall, Ashley Hinton ends up winning that race kind of regardless. In my opinion, Deed said, in my opinion, Bashir would struggle to capture progressives. It would probably cost him having to balance his moderate views with the modern day Democratic environment. That definitely could happen. That could definitely happen. Where maybe he would do stronger, maybe in some red states, but in some bluer states, maybe he wouldn't do as well. It may cost him. Yeah, that definitely could be the case. And Dong said, Dem party hate USA. Blue Wave said, but I've heard some say that at the end of the day, an incumbent is an incumbent. Hinson has raised way less money as well. That is true. The incumbency advantage is important, but at the same time, the scandals that Joni Ernst had were starting to kind of add up a little bit, and it may be a case of not having the incumbent there may honestly be a good thing. Obviously, it's definitely breaking conventional wisdom, saying a non-incumbent is stronger than an incumbent, but giving Ernst scandal about the healthcare thing and what she said about that, I kind of think any non-Ernst Republican was probably going to do better, to be honest. Left Meme said, Andy Ogles is definitely losing, LMAO. And Gene Marenko said, Bashir seems to lack charisma, not seeing him excite anyone. Blue said, also one more thing, I think Rob Sand has a really decent chance of winning, and you know how down ballot stuff works. I think I do agree with you that if there is an Iowa race, I think the Democrats could win. No, I should preface this. The House races are totally different. I think the Democrats could win there, but of the Senate and governor's race in Iowa, I think the governor's one is the one I'm watching, is one the Democrats could win. Senate, it's possible, but I don't think the Democrats are at that level in the Senate for Iowa, but the governor's race, Rob Sand, I think definitely could be a potential chance, especially if Iowa won and maybe Iowa, I think it's Iowa 3. If maybe both of those go, then potentially they could go blue. So New York Times just officially called the race. Matt Van Epps, the Republican, has won the 7th District special election over the Democrat Aftyn Behn, 52.2% to 46.8%, with 92% of the vote in. So at 9:38 p.m., the race was officially called, roughly an hour and 38 minutes after the polls officially closed. Right now, 5.4% lead for Van Epps over Behn. 153,145 votes. overall reaction to this isn't really too much of a surprise. All the early polling showed it was a close race, but that Matt Van Epps was leading, and ultimately that did end up happening. A lot of enthusiasm in this race, though, among the Democrats. This was a Republican plus 22 district in 2024. Throughout all of 2025 and pretty much every single election and special election that has taken place, the Republican voter turnout has been down. Democratic voter enthusiasm and turnout has been very high, and that made this Republican plus 22 election in 2024 only Republican plus 5.4 this time around. So even though the Republicans hold on and win this race, this district really should not have been too competitive based on how red it was in 2024. And the fact that it was very competitive at all shows that the Democrats were in a very strong performance, and honestly probably shows Democrats are going to have a good 2026. Now, I know the argument's going to be, well, the Republican won. How can the Democrats take this as a victory? That 5.4% margin of victory in a Republican plus 10 Cook PVI district, Republican plus 22-point victory in 2024. It's a Democrat. Even if the Democrats didn't win, like in the two districts in Florida, Florida 1 and Florida 6, this is a Democrat massive overperformance from what they would usually do in this district. So even though the Democrat lost and the Republican in the seat stays Republican, this is going to be a good sign for the Democrats heading into 2026. They were able to do this well in this race. Now, elephant in the room for 2026. I don't think this race in the general election in 2026 is going to be this close. Special elections, like one of the earlier commenters said, there's going to be more Republican voter turnout in the midterms than in this race. And Democratic voter turnout might be the same, but there'll be definitely more Republican. So I think there will be a larger margin in 2026. But a very close race in this 7th district between Matt Van Epps and Aftyn Behn. Democrat Aftyn Behn does fall a little bit short, but definitely she had a lot of momentum in this race and a lot of voter turnout and enthusiasm behind her. It made this usually red district very, very competitive. Let's see. Blue Wave said, also, why there's so many people saying Peltola looks like she's going to run for Senate when she has shown no true indication of running, and the filing deadline is soon. Yeah, Peltola is interesting. I've seen, honestly conflicting reports over the last, 6 months or so saying she could run for Senate, for House, for Governor. It's all kind of all over the place with her, which is kind of, we talked about how I do, the predictions and stuff earlier on. I kind of go the more cautious approach, especially in that. So Alaska right now, for I think Senate, House, and Governor is all likely Republican for me. If Peltola decides to enter one of those races, I think it immediately becomes very competitive. But until she makes a decision for sure, I'm kind of just waiting and see what she's going to do. I know she did release, I think, a statement a few months ago saying she was interested in running in 2026, but not 100% for which race. We also just got some more votes in. Over 95% of the votes are in this race. 52.9% for Matt Van Epps. 46.1% for Aftyn Behn. I'm just doing quick math here. I don't think the margins changed from the last time I did it. No, it actually has gone up. So it is now a 6.8% lead for Van Epps over Behn, which is also right around where I had it. I had it at Republican +6 in my final prediction a few days ago for this race. So the polls on this one seem to definitely be correct and capture the enthusiasm. Oh, just got some more votes in, 53.2 to 45.7. Let's see some other commenters here. Crunching outstanding numbers, Van Epps by 5.5. Yep, definitely seems to be happening here. Zeus said Team MAGA. Brian said, yeah, I was about to say it isn't surprising. It's what was expected. Not glad that he won, but it's also the culture and environment of the Tennessee district. Yep, definitely, totally agree. Blue Wave said, yeah, cautious was a better word than conservative. No, don't be sorry. No, it's all good. It's honest, I just because seeing the results come in and reading the chat, I'm trying to kind of balance both, so I just kind of misinterpreted that. So no reason to be sorry. I got what you're saying. And then Sintod said AP has called it for Van Epps. Yeah, I think everyone's starting to call it for Van Epps now. Yeah. Honestly, though, it's a very interesting race. It's a very interesting special election. Again, this is one that kind of came out of nowhere for me in terms of I wasn't paying too much attention to it, but it very quickly became a very close race. A district that's very solid Republican. Democrats made it very competitive. I mean, an under 10-point race in this district is certainly not one that was very expected, but it was a very close race, very exciting race, honestly, very special election. And now heading into 2026, I think this is the last special election for 2025. So heading into 2026, it's going to be very interesting to talk about the midterms and do the Democrats carry the momentum from this race and from all the other special elections in 2025 into 2026, and how do they ultimately do? I am curious because I think I still have the Wikipedia page up. Have they updated this one yet? They've not put the results in yet for sure in this, but I want to see. But Democrats, I mean, even though they lost this race, the Democrats outperformed in every special election and every House election in 2025. They outperformed in the main 2025 elections and carrying into 2026. This is, even though they lost, this is still good news for the Democrats in terms of what 2026 could be. But definitely the Republicans could not afford to lose this race. They needed this very important race to get a lot of President Trump's agenda passed, especially heading into the midterms where the Republicans may lose the House. The Republicans could not afford to lose this seat. And even though it was very close, they did hold on and ultimately win it. Jay said, only Democrats would totally lie. It's going to be close. Stupid. I can't say that. Lies by the left. Good showmates. For a fun fact, the largest upset when in the House happened in the GOP wave of 2010, where they flipped Hawaii's D+30 district, while the Republican only captured 39% of it. Hawaii had a Republican district? No way. Wait. Is that true? Let's see, 2010. Was that a, it's probably, it won't be on here. It's probably a special election. No kidding. Huh. No kidding. Hawaii. Wow, that is interesting. I did not know Hawaii ever had a Republican representative. That's interesting. It's funny because Hawaii is such a Democratic state. You would never think that would, never expect that to be a thing. Let's see. Off-state topic, but Mikey Sherrill's the first politician attracted. Any politician find attractive? I'm not touching that one. No, respectfully, I'm going to decline to comment on that one. Blue Wave said, although this question is going to sound dumb, but what state would be the purple at all? Or it's going to sound dumb, but what state would be purple at all or sooner? Nebraska or Kansas? They're both moving towards the center. Nebraska 2 and maybe Nebraska 1, but Kansas is less red. Kansas also has a blue governor too. That's an interesting question. Kansas or Nebraska? Which one moves blue? Okay, this is actually an interesting question. I think my answer is probably, I would say probably Kansas. Because off the top of my head, wasn't Kansas relatively close in 2020? Yeah, Kansas, not really close, but it voted 14.6 for Trump in 2020, and Nebraska voted 19.1. So they're both pretty red. I don't think they'd be too competitive anytime soon, but Kansas was 16 points for Trump, Nebraska was 20.5. So in both elections, Kansas has been closer to the Democrats than Nebraska in the last two presidential elections. And Kansas does have a Democratic governor. Now, because Nebraska splits up their congressional districts, obviously the second district is going to get more attention, and that is Democratic, and will probably continue to trend to the Democrats more. So, yeah, state-wise, I think Kansas is more of the, more towards the center, more towards the Democratic one, but the second district in Nebraska certainly pulls a lot of weight on that. That's an interesting question, though. It's not one that I've really ever stopped and thought about. Leave Moline said, gross. DC said, the Democrats don't have momentum. You cannot compare a presidential election with a special election. You'll see the big red wave in 2026. Let's see. Let's see if it happens. I mean, every election this year seems to suggest the opposite, but American elections, you never really know until all the votes are cast. You never really know. If it was a special election, Kansas will go blue before Nebraska, in my opinion, said D. Yeah, I agree with that. If you compare the two of them, they shift to the left against the national. I think we're both bluer than 2016. Yep. Also, Mississippi has a better chance of going purple than any other southern state. Prove me wrong. Well, I know you're going to get this reference. The one reason I think Mississippi could ever go blue is Cindy Hyde-Smith, the senator from Mississippi, who I believe won, was it 2020 by 10 points in very red Mississippi. So only a 10-point win in the state that voted for Trump by 23 points in 2024. So that alone might be a reason why that state may potentially ever trend to the left. But I'm not saying Mississippi will go. I don't think it will, but Cindy Hyde-Smith could be the reason why. Interesting that Florida shifted a lot to the right during the late 2010s and early 2020s. Yeah, I saw that I think they even set a new record again for voting registration for the Republicans in Florida. So it shifted so far to the right, it's even shifting farther right, it seems. Who said heck yeah? And Florida became the new Texas? Yeah, definitely. Definitely seems like it did. It depends on the candidate quality, blue wave. I mean, Alabama had a Dem senator in 2017. That's an interesting topic as well. I don't think it's going to be too competitive, but the governor's race in Alabama could be interesting between Tuberville and Doug Jones, that rematch. Obviously, 2026, even if it is a big Democratic blue wave, Alabama is still probably going to go red at the governor level by a pretty decent amount. But I don't know, seeing that rematch is kind of an interesting story. Even if it won't be too competitive, I just think it's an interesting thing to kind of follow. Kathy says, hopefully Epps will win. Well, Epps, 10 minutes ago got called the winner in this special election, and honestly, in 2026, we'll probably go on to win re-election by an even larger margin than this. Also, think about this. Imagine being from Louisiana and saying you're from LA because of the state abbreviation, and people think Cali. That's funny. That's pretty funny. I wonder. No, I was going to say I wonder if people do that, but no, 100% people do that. I feel like depending on where you are, it'd be like, if you're in the South, you're like Louisiana, like, I'm from LA, it'd be like, yeah, whatever. But if you say that in like Utah or something, you'd be like, what? I don't know. That's funny. That's honestly, I love that comment. That's a funny comment. So I think we got a few more votes in, over 95% in, 53.9 to 45. There's going to be a few more votes left out there. Most of the counties now are pretty much 95% in here. New York Times, actually, it seems, updated. Oh, here's the number. Okay. So yeah, most of the counties are now 95% in, but a few more handful of votes left out throughout some of these other counties. But I know the New York Times just put the chart in here. And it does show, as expected, every single county from 2024 to now to the special election did shift towards the Democrat Aftyn Behn. Again, special election versus presidential election, so not really too much of a surprise. At the start of the night, I thought this was going to be the case, but yeah, look at the margins in which they did shift. Montgomery ended up shifting about 10 points from Van Epps to Van Epps plus 8, 10 points to the Democrat, and Robertson plus 7.5. These margins, while they're obviously very good for Aftyn Behn and made the race a lot more competitive, to overall win, she would have needed shifts like in Nashville. She would have needed this to be at least 85 to 15. Montgomery, Aftyn Behn was winning this at one point. She needed to win this county to have a chance at winning this district. But with it right now, 95% of the vote in, 53.9 for Matt Van Epps to 45 for Aftyn Behn, right around 8.9%. So it is in the likely margin. That was the prediction I did have it in, but I think I had it around 6 points. Man, I want to say 6 or 7. I thought it was 6 points. Oh, I did not just say 6, 7. I did not do that on purpose. Oh my God. But I think I had it around 6 points and ended up right now being 8.9%. So definitely it went a little more red than I expected, but certainly within the likely margin that I thought this race would go. And the polls seem to be correct. And in this Republican plus 22 district, only 8.9% still. Democrats did much better than expected and have some momentum heading into 2026 for sure. But the special election does stay red. And that's honestly most important for the Republicans. They keep the seat in the Republican hands. Let's see. Italico wins the general in 2026, and Texas Dems start focusing on Texas in 27-28. Texas could become the new Arizona, Nevada, Michigan, Wisconsin, Georgia, and North Carolina. I think Mississippi has the best chance of going purple because they're very close governor election. Black population because they rank so low. Louisiana or LA has too much pride in like Mike and Steve. Crypto Knight said booyah. Also, you have any idea why Oklahoma is so much redder than Nebraska or Kansas? Because they should be pretty similar, but not even the big cities in Oklahoma are blue. Honestly, I've never stopped and thought about why Oklahoma's so red. I just always know that it is. Like, I voted for Trump by 34.3% in 2024, and in 2020, voted for Trump by 33.1%. It's just consistently super red, and I really don't know why. Like, even, yeah, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma voted for Trump 1.7%. This is the big capital city of the state. I mean, how many capitals in the U.S. vote Republican? I think this might be the only one. And it voted by 1.7%. In 2020, Trump even voted by 1.1%. So it's voted by right around 1 point in 2 straight presidential elections, but always votes red. Honestly, yeah, I don't know. I've never really stopped and thought about it, but Oklahoma just seems to be such a red state. Deed said, if I had to throw a guess after seeing the results of 2025, I believe the environment will be more polarized in 2018. Fully expect a D plus 4.6 environment unless Republicans turn this ship quickly. Okay. Haha, close. What a joke in the special election, 48 to 46. What a damn joke. Yeah, Emerson. Emerson's had a rough go of it in 2025. They looked really good in 2024, but only a 2-point lead for Epps over Behn. If you gave all 5% to Matt Van Epps, getting him up to what? 53? Be 53-46. I mean, that's not too far off from what the results are. Actually, 54-45, so not really too far off, but definitely missed by a few points. But hey, polling's hard, polling's unpredictable. I mean, I've definitely, on my election predictions just in 2025, I've definitely been off by a little bit, so I'm not going to give them really any hate for it, but no, they're off by, it definitely ended up being the final results. It was still a pretty competitive race, even though it was around a 9-point victory for Epps over Behn. But still, compared to the 22% margin in 2024, this was a much more competitive race in a district that really never should have been competitive. So I'm not going to fault Emerson too much on that. I've been told it's the veterans of South and oil. KC, Topeka, and Omaha Lincoln are all blue. My capital did like 10%. Nevada's capital is Carson City, just south of Washoe County. Yep. Also, Oklahoma City is the most conservative major city in the U.S. Oh, interesting. I didn't know that. Atlas Intel took the biggest hit this cycle. Oh, yeah, definitely. No, Atlas Intel definitely did. Yeah, they went. I don't think I have the. Do I still have the Wikipedia? I don't think I have the Wikipedia up, but yeah, the day before the election, Atlas Intel said the New Jersey governor's race was like 49-48 for Cheryl over Chitterelli, and yeah, that Atlas probably took the biggest hit. Now that we said that, watching like 2028 or something, they'll be like back to like perfectly accurate or something, but I don't know. Polling's always interesting. You never really know if it's gonna be right or wrong, but especially in the off-year elections like 2025, you never really know. 2026 is going to be interesting as well to see how pollsters do, because there's going to be a lot of close elections. Again, at the start of the night, I went over the generic vote. Democrats are currently up by 5.6 in the generic ballot right now. All the redistricting stuff going on. So definitely this is going to be interesting to watch for 2026, how it goes. Overall, also, I don't think I've done this on the live stream yet tonight, but the Republicans won the House 50.6 to 47.8 nationally, so about a 2.8% lead in 2024. Democrats now at 5.6%. Let me go 5.6 plus 2.8. It would be roughly about an 8.4% shift. So taking redistricting and everything out of it, if we just shifted the entire map by 8.4%, Democrats would get up to 236 House seats. Republicans would be at 199. So obviously the Republicans nationally, like President Trump and all the Republicans nationally, know this. That's why they're trying to redistrict so much, that if the Democrats do well, Democrats can pick up a ton of seats. So that's why all the redistricting is going on. I think Ron DeSantis announced, I think today or yesterday, that Florida wants to redistrict in early 2026, try and draw out as many Democrats as they can. So that's something going to be happening probably as well. But yeah, so that's going to be interesting to watch for as well for 2026, how that all breaks down. But all these special elections in 2025 for the House, even though the Democrats lost the Florida ones and lost this one, the Democrats really outperformed. If they can carry that over into 2026, Democrats going to be in for a very big midterm night, especially with increased voter turnout, probably from Democrats and from Republicans as well. But it's going to be a very interesting midterm to see how it all goes. Could President Trump and the Republicans rebound in 2026? Yes, they definitely could, especially with Trump, I believe, right now polling around 42.5. I mean, Trump definitely has room to go up. But if the Republicans don't and things remain about the same, Democrats could be in for a very, very big 2026. Now, I think it's a little too early to say, about 11 months out, but I mean, it's going to creep up quickly, just like this election. The days are going to go by and we're going to get very close to the midterms, like really, really quick. But definitely for 2025, first, obviously, elections of after President Trump got elected to his second term, Democrats have done very well in these off-year elections and have some momentum going into 2026. Let's see. Blue Wave said you should do more streams. This is really fun. Also, forgot to say, or I forgot to like. Sorry, I'm like, no, it's all good. First of all, I haven't said that in a while. Also, if you're watching, make sure to hit like and subscribe as well. I appreciate. Yeah, honestly, the first stream I did for the 2025 ones, I definitely enjoyed it, but I know the audio had some issues, so I kind of I enjoyed doing it, but also the audio issues kind of put a damper on it a little bit. This one's been a lot more fun. The audio, I think everyone sounds. I haven't seen any complaints about the audio, so that's good. We had the one freeze earlier on in the night with the stream, but since then we haven't had any problems. So, I mean, yeah, I would like to do this more, honestly. I would like, this one definitely went a lot better, so I'm glad this worked out. And I don't know, maybe I would like to do this more often. Let's see. Deed said, also, I don't chat often, but I do watch the deep dives. It's my tism for being a Tom American. Gotta go for the night, but great stream, mate. Deeds, thank you so much for watching, man. I really appreciate it. Honestly, any of the videos you guys watch, take time to watch them, whether it's these, the live stream, the short. If you guys taking time to watch my videos at all, I really appreciate you doing that. Like, it means the absolute world to me. Also, one more thing I gotta say, I don't think that Mark, I'm definitely gonna mispronounce this, Amodi, Nevada 2 is as safe as when you think, because tons of people now hate him there, and he won by less in 24 than in 22 despite the state shift. Interesting. Okay, so his district is Republican +7 on the Cook PVI. So it's a likely Republican district, kind of similar to this one, actually, Republican +10. Okay, interesting. House in 2024, it voted red by 19 points. Interesting. Okay, at very least, I would say in 2026, I wouldn't be shocked if it fell under 15 points for sure. I don't know if it's going to be in danger of going blue, but I think it will definitely be more competitive than the 19.1. Yeah, it was 22 points in 2022. It could definitely fall under 15, especially in a big Democratic environment. I don't think it's going to fall under 5, but that could be an interesting. If the Democrats are winning really well nationwide, I wouldn't be shocked to see this one get more competitive. I'll see. Brian said, interestingly for Texas, there's the Paxton versus generic Dem poll, with the generic Dem is leading. All red leading Paxton in most polls. Talarico leading Hunt in one poll, and Talarico tied with Paxton. I am O'Day. There have been tons of large protests against him. Interesting. There are protests here against him. Interesting. Huh. It's funny, because, yeah, I remember seeing in 2024, I remember seeing him win by 19 points. And the way that Nevada, I swear, I'm going to get it right one of these days. The way Nevada drew their congressional map was the Democrats have Nevada 4, they have Nevada 1, and they pretty much it's always close, but Democrats seem to always win Nevada 3. And Nevada 2 is always kind of just like solid GOP, but it's not as red on the Cook PVI level as I kind of assumed it was. So this could potentially maybe be in play if the Democrats are doing strong enough. That's how you say his name. Gotcha. O'Day. Okay. O'Day. Okay, O'Day. Not as bad as the Nevada pronunciation, I think, but actually, it kind of was. O'Day. Yeah, I don't know. That could be an interesting one to watch for sure as well for 2026. The House is going to be so interesting for 2026. I mean, I definitely feel like that, like, when you talk about the midterms and stuff, the Senate elections definitely get the most attention, I would say. But the House elections are going to be really interesting for 2026. Governor elections definitely are kind of going a little more under the radar this cycle, but the House elections are going to be really interesting. And I definitely want to do more videos this cycle about the House elections, because there's going to be a lot of really close ones, especially if the Democrats keep with the momentum up and like overperform like they've been doing. The House is going to be really interesting for 2026. That Nevada likely D district should include Reno. Does it? I guess it doesn't. Yeah, Reno's going to be interesting. No, that's common. It's fine. I think Nevada has a better chance of going blue than most say. Interesting. Nevada's going to be a very interesting state for 2026, honestly. You have the House elections. You have the governor's race between Lombardo and Aaron Ford. That's going to be very close. Lombardo only won by 1.5% in 2022. Yeah. I got you. Yeah, Reno's a purple, midly blue city. For governor, I mean. Yeah. It's going to be interesting. And Lombardo, he only won 48.8% of the vote. I mean, now that he's the incumbent, like, maybe he gets more, maybe he doesn't. We'll have to wait and see. But 48.8%, I mean, there's an opening there. Also, I noticed Nevada always seems to have, like, how often do the candidates break 50%? Because then the Senate race, it was like 47 or something. It was, 47.8 to 46. Like, it's kind of funny that none of these options in Nevada always seems to get like a few percentage points. It's very interesting. I don't know how many states, if any other states have that, so it's kind of interesting to always see that. But yeah, Nevada's going to be a very interesting state in 2026. The governor's race is going to be big, and the House elections are going to be big as well. But yeah, definitely going to be an interesting state to watch for in 26. See, there's been a few more votes out of Tennessee, up 0.2% for Aftyn Behn, 53.8 to 45.2. Matt Van Epps over Aftyn Behn. Let's see. Lombardo got exposed for saying like protesters are paid and unemployment is going up in the state. You didn't see this meant, but Trump pissed off the Canadians who want to go to Vegas, and now it's bad. That is true. I think I was trying to remember earlier in the stream, but I think that's what it was. It was tourism in Las Vegas is certainly taking a hit. I think like some of the hotels and such are not doing as well because of the less tourism in Vegas. That could certainly be a pretty big problem as well. It may hurt Lombardo enough, or he may even end up nearly losing if that hurts him enough for 26. How do you think that Wisconsin will go in the midterms? Who will win the governor's race? How do you see Wisconsin's 3rd congressional district going? I love the videos. Keep up the hard work. Well, first of all, Joe, thank you so much for saying that. I really appreciate that. Wisconsin's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. I think right now the Democrats are probably narrowly favored to win. The governor's race, since Tony Evers is not running, but it's going to be in a 2026 Democratic midterm environment. I think Sarah Rodriguez, I know Mandela Barnes just announced today that he's running, so that's another video I want to do. The Democratic primary between Rodriguez and Barnes is going to be interesting, but whoever emerges will probably face off against Tom Tiffany in the general election. I think it'll be very close. I do think Tom Tiffany will probably perform better than Tim Michels, honestly, as the Republican candidate, but I think the Democrats narrowly win the governor's race. Right now, I would say probably like a 2-point victory. It's going to be kind of small for Wisconsin, but I do think that's a state that's essentially as 50-50 as a state as you can get, but I think overall it goes narrowly for the Democrats. For the House race, I mean, this is going to be so close. Derek Van Orden versus Rebecca Cook. This is going to be the rematch in 2026. This is going to be like a very, very close election. I wouldn't be shocked one bit if we're looking at 2026 and say, how do the congressional elections go? This is going to be one of the major flips of the night. I think this one honestly goes blue. It's super, super, super close. It's Republican +3 on the Cook PVI, so it's lean Republican, but I honestly think right now, this may be one of the flips. Isn't there also, in Wisconsin, are they trying to refile the lawsuit to like redraw the congressional map? I don't know if it's going to ultimately go through, but if they do that, it'll be honestly an automatic flip, but I think Wisconsin 3 definitely could flip for 2026. By the way, are you worried that PA will overcome red like Ohio because of voter registration? Good question. Pennsylvania is interesting because Pennsylvania obviously voted red in 2024, but McCormick won by 0.2%. Trump won it by 1.7%. But then again, Josh Shapiro is probably going to get reelected by like, at a bare minimum, like 10 points in 2026. So Pennsylvania, I honestly think is kind of like Wisconsin, where I think it will become like a 50-50 state, but I don't think it's going to become like a red Ohio state. I just think there's so many people living in the Philadelphia area that I think there's that amount of people are going to keep the state. Essentially, there's so many, I would say there's so many Democratic votes. I think it will keep it at very least a 50-50 state. It's possible over the next like 10, 15 years or so, Pennsylvania becomes like a pretty reliably red state, but like, I don't know. I feel like Pennsylvania is too important for the Democrats that they try and like keep trying to win there and they won't let it become like an Ohio. Now, at the same time, Democrats maybe can make the argument of maybe they like give up on Pennsylvania and try and put all their effort into North Carolina or to Georgia, maybe, in terms of overall trends and growing statistics in like the Charlotte area and in Georgia and the Atlanta area. Maybe they say they jump ship in Pennsylvania, let the Republicans win there, and try and get North Carolina and Georgia, maybe make up for it. That could be one, as well as maybe hoping that voter trends in Arizona and Texas continue. Maybe they try and get more votes there. It's an interesting conversation because the electoral map obviously changes like so often. Like this is 2024, even going back to like 2012, it's like a whole different map where like Wisconsin, Iowa, Michigan, Pennsylvania, none of them are really like in play a ton. And then come to 2016 and Trump wins all of them. Like you never really know how it's going to trend. You never would have thought New Jersey would have been a 6-point victory in 2024. I mean, Biden won it by 16 points in 2020. It goes Democrat by only 6 points in 2024. And then the governor's election, which Republicans are like, we can win, was a 14-point victory. So, like, I don't know. You never really know how it's going to trend overall. I think in a couple of cycles, Alaska will be a swing state. Trump won by like 40,000 votes, less than one to vote. Alaska's a really interesting state. It kind of goes under the radar for how competitive that it is. Like in 2024, it went for Trump by 13 points. In 2020, it only went for Trump by 10. And then in 2016, it went for Trump by 14.7. It's not like For a while, I would have thought Alaska was kind of in a similar category of like Utah, like a 20-point Republican win. But no, Alaska, it's likely Republican, but if there's a big enough like Democratic election where like Texas went down to 5.6% in 2020, I wouldn't be shocked if the Democrats did like super well in 2028 or like 2032 or something if Alaska became like a 5-point victory or even under. I wouldn't be shocked. Especially like it would make a very unique circumstance, but Mary Peltola in 2022 kind of gave the Democrats a roadmap of can a Democrat win in Alaska. It went for Peltola by 9.9% against Sarah Palin, so she kind of provided a good roadmap there. Also I think come 2032, Georgia will be like a New Hampshire-esque state. It definitely could. I mean, Trump won it by 2.2% in 2024, so it did go back to the Republicans a little bit, but yeah, I mean, Fulton County, DeKalb County, Gwinnett County, the Republicans did not get the major shifts here in Georgia that they were hoping that they got in like Arizona, or even that they got in Nevada, or even Pennsylvania to a certain degree, North Carolina. Like Georgia is certainly, of all the swing states Trump won in 2024, the one the Republicans probably most have to worry about losing in 28 and probably going forward probably would be Georgia. It's just going to be interesting because Georgia, I think it went from like a likely Republican state in 2016, a 5.1% win, to Democrat to Joe Biden winning it in 2020, and then 2 Democratic senators in 2020, Warnock winning re-election in 2022. It all kind of happened so quickly. So Trump winning it again in 2024 was like, all right, maybe it's not becoming like a blue state. But then like, I think in the long term, it probably will be like a 50-50 state for a while. And then like could go red, could go blue. But I certainly think the gains in the Atlanta area suggest it will become maybe like a New Hampshire. Yeah, New Hampshire. Although New Hampshire is interesting because it voted 2.8% for Harris over Trump. 2020, it voted for Biden 7.4%. I kind of see Georgia being around that margin, actually. I can kind of see that. I'm not sure if it will, like, super soon, but I could imagine a scenario where that happens. You got to understand how Florida, to flip, you would have needed to change the minds of 700,000 Trump voters. In Texas, you would need 800,000. Alaska would need 20,000. That is true. It's raw number-wise, it is easier to try and convince the 20,000 than, that is true, than going after Texas and Florida. I don't think, personally, like, yes, Texas got very close in 2020, where it was 5.6%. I don't think Texas and Florida are going to be in play anytime soon, really, at the presidential level. Florida, especially, I don't think will be in play for a while. Texas, the Democrats may try and make, like, trended to the left in 2028, but I think it'll at least be a likely Republican state in 28. Alaska, by raw numbers, 13 points. It may be worth the Democrats trying to make an effort there. I don't think they're going to win it in 28 or 32, but I think the Democrats could at least make an investment there and see if they can make it closer. What got you interested in covering these elections and politics in general? Good question. Honestly, I think I just remember like talking about the 2012 presidential election in my family. That was like the first one I really remember watching. And I remember seeing like the electoral map on screen. I think it was like NBC of Obama versus Romney. And for some reason, I just like really found it interesting. And then from 2012 to 2014, I was kind of just like, I downloaded on like an iPad those apps of like the electoral map. And I remember using old 270towin.com and like the graphics looked really like grainy and like really old school and stuff. And I just like started using that. And then for 2014, I was like really wrapped up in the midterms and following all of that. And then 2016, I was really kind of wrapped up in it. And it kind of just grew. And 2018, I made the channel and just kind of been doing it ever since. So yeah, I guess the 2012 election is kind of when I started getting interested in it. But I don't know. Yeah, just from that, I just really started getting interested in it. Kind of just never stopped. I also think the reason New Jersey was kind of close and Texas having Trump winning it by 13-14 is Harris becoming the nominee later than the average time. He probably can't become the nominee. Certainly could be. That could certainly be it. Yeah, definitely. Especially after 4 years of Biden, where his approval ratings were standing, and then Harris only having like, what she ended up having like less than 3 months to campaign or whatever. That certainly could have hurt her as well. I bet like, and I wouldn't be shocked one bit. This kind of goes without saying, but New Jersey, Texas, I wouldn't be shocked one bit in 2028 if the Democrat, whoever the nominee ends up being, wins them or does better in them than Harris did in 2024, without a doubt. Like, almost guaranteed it's probably going to happen. I think Florida, no way. I think Texas will eventually shift closer to the center because of the metro areas and Latino vote going back to the Dems among the gains with white voters. Could be. Definitely could be. I mean, that's where the channel was trending before, or not the channel, I'm sorry. That's where the state was trending before the 2024 election, so definitely could be. Maybe you'd be an inspiration for me to make my own channel someday, but the problem is my voice could be considered psychological torture to anyone who hears it, so it'd be hard. I mean, honestly, I think if you want to make it, do it. Honestly, like, I know when I first started, I'm like, I still don't like hearing my voice. Like, when I have to edit the videos, I still don't like hearing it. So I think you take the time to make it. I think people will watch it. I think people will watch stuff you make. So no, I don't think the voice thing should hold you back. If you want to do it, do it. That's what I would say. Do I think Gavin Newsom will be the Democratic nominee? Your voice is great. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. I really do. Yeah, no, it's honestly that's why I didn't show my face for a while either. I'm like, who wants to hear my voice? Who wants to see my face? But no, it's just I think like that also helps. It's reassuring seeing everyone watch. Like over 6,000 people have watched the stream tonight that started it. So like seeing stuff like this happen, like it feels good. It feels good that like if you make good stuff, people will watch it. So it's also why each video I'm trying to like get better and make videos the best I can each time. So I think Newsom will be the Democratic nominee in 2020 for president. Right now, today, I think yes, I think he will. It's interesting because I remember I was looking at the polls a few days ago, and I think I still have. Yeah, I have the page still up, so let's refresh it here. Early on, I said, yeah, right now Newsom's leading by 2.1% in the average. And I remember saying early on when Kamala Harris was leading that it wasn't a surprise to me because this is exactly what happened. I remember, like I mentioned, the 2012 election. Mitt Romney was the same way after 2012. The second after the election, the first few polls were like, who will be the Republican nominee for 2016? And the early polls all said Mitt Romney would be the nominee again. And it was because he was just the nominee in 2012. If you asked voters, like, who's the Republican you've heard of? Well, you've heard of the guy that you just voted for, so they're going to say him. And then by like 2014, he wasn't near the top of the list anymore. Romney actually in 2014, I think, was going around the country, like, supporting candidates. I know he supported Scott Brown in New Hampshire. He supported Joni Ernst in Iowa. He was kind of like campaigning like he was going to run for president again in 2016. Ultimately, he didn't end up running, and he kind of lost his like standing in the party heading into 2016. I expect Kamala Harris, at very least, to be kind of similar. The only difference is Kamala Harris, I think, still has a stronger standing in the Democratic Party than Mitt Romney did in the Republican Party. But when Harris was leading, I kind of expected it would go down over time. Now, by the end of 2025, in most polls you're looking at, she's not leading the averages anymore. Newsom, however, was started up polling, I think, in like third or fourth. But the thing with Newsom is he's such a vocal voice for the Democrats that the Democrats right now, I think, want someone, at least in 2025, want someone that's going to call out Trump and say the things they don't like about him. And Newsom is probably the most vocal Democrat doing it right now. That doesn't mean he's not the only one. Like, Newsom is doing it, but Kamala Harris is doing it a little bit. J.B. Pritzker is definitely doing it. And a lot of Democrats are doing it. But Newsom, I think, is the most vocal and the most outspoken. He's also the one that kind of, like, on his own Twitter, kind of went after Trump in the same way that Trump was going after people. And kind of like what many would call like a publicity stunt. Everyone's like, well, that's kind of stupid. Like, what's the point of him doing that? But right around when he did that, Newsom's numbers started to go up. So for 2028 right now, I think it's definitely very divided because there are a lot of Democrats who are going to run and would want to be the Democratic nominee. And I just think there's going to be a lot of vote splitting, kind of similar to 2020, where a lot of people, like by around Super Tuesday, are going to drop out and kind of coalesce around the remaining like 3 or 4 candidates that are left. And I wouldn't be shocked one bit to see Newsom emerge from it. So right now, I think Newsom, honestly, is the narrow favorite to be the Democratic nominee in 2028. Right now, I think if Kamala Harris runs, being the former VP, she's going to start out with a very high floor of support. I don't know if her being in the Democratic primary from the beginning is going to help her or hurt her, though. It's possible it could have hurt her. And I think that may actually give Newsom a chance of kind of like rising up and proving she could be the Democratic, or he could be the Democratic candidate. So for right now, I think it's Newsom, but I really don't think 100% is like a slam dunk. I mean, she gets a lot of attention and a lot of hate online. I don't think it's impossible that AOC could become the Democratic nominee. It's kind of like there's not, obviously if Bernie Sanders isn't running, that like heir apparent to Bernie is AOC. And Bernie got a lot of votes in 2020 and in 2016. So if AOC runs, I think she could capture a lot of especially younger Democrats who are eager to kind of like lead the party in that direction. AOC could potentially like sneak through and do that. Let's see. Blue Wave said, honestly, I like the face cam. It feels more human and connecting, engaging, if that makes sense. Yeah, it definitely does. It definitely does. I think for a while, I kind of wanted to do the face cam for a while. It was just like, I don't know. I don't know if it's confidence or what it was, but kind of just like having like honestly, yeah, kind of have like the confidence to do it and like kind of putting my face on the videos, like kind of like went back and forth and actually wanted to do it or not. But now that I'm doing it, I definitely like enjoy it. I definitely like having it more. And I agree with you. I do feel like I'm connecting. Obviously, you guys can see me and connect with me more. I can feel like I'm connecting with you guys more. I think it's definitely the right move. If Texas ever turns blue, it is over. We'll have a one-party government. I mean, 40 electoral votes is really hard to make up the Republicans. It'd be like Democrats losing like California. There's really no going back for the Republicans. They lose Texas. That's true. Because I mean, Texas, what 40 electoral votes? Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. That altogether barely. Like I don't even think it adds up. It'd be what? It'd be about 34. It would just barely about add up to Texas. So like the Republicans can't afford to lose Texas. Yeah, 100%. That's true. Okay, let's see. If Biden never dropped out or Harris became the nominee earlier, I think Texas would be a likely lean R win. And New Jersey would have been a Dem win by less than 16 points, less than the Biden New Jersey margin. I don't know. I kind of just think the way Biden was doing on his approval rating was so bad, whether it was him or Harris. I kind of think any Democrat was going to lose in 2024. Like, it's kind of forgotten, like, the history now, but when Biden dropped out, he was losing to Trump in New Hampshire. He was losing to Trump in Minnesota in the polls, and he was really in play of potentially losing New Jersey. So if Biden stayed in, it may have even been worse. Like, when Harris entered the race, she actually kind of had a little bit of a polling bump that made the race more competitive between Trump and her, and ended up obviously Trump winning all the swing states and such, but like Biden could have been on track to lose by like an astronomical amount. Blue Wave said, I don't know if I agree Harris was kind of a sucky candidate. Like she said, she would do nothing differently than Biden when he was not good with the border. Yeah, it's just the whole thing was kind of like interesting because it's Biden's vice president. She can't really say too much. It's just like what she would do differently than him, but at the same time saying she wouldn't do anything differently was kind of like not good either. She probably was better off saying she would have done the border differently than him, but then again, she was also, I know Trump campaign on saying that she was the border czar, so it may have been hard for her to go like off in that and say that she was like, oh, she was in charge of the border, but I would have done the border differently. It's like, well, you were in charge of the border. So she was kind of in a bad position. I really just think Biden was polling so terribly at that point, whether it was Biden or Harris. Either one of them was kind of in a tough spot where they probably weren't going to win no matter what they did. It's just sometimes like looking back in elections, it seems kind of obvious in hindsight, like which candidate was going to win. Like in 2008, obviously once Obama became the Democratic nominee, there was no way he was going to lose. 2024 just kind of felt like it was going to be Trump. Like once Harris and Biden and everything that happened with that, kind of just felt like it was going to be Trump no matter what. Or in other words, Trump would win Texas and similar to his 2020 margin if the hypothetical scenario I mentioned happened. Yeah, it's possible. I don't personally think that would have been the case because of what I said, but it definitely was possible. Do you think it's possible that Susan Collins will retire because she's taken a while to launch her campaign, or could get primaried by more MAGA Republican because it is Joby primary? Okay, so primaried by a more MAGA Republican, I personally think no, because I think Trump has been vocal at times about not liking Susan Collins, and yet even he in the last year or so has been very quiet about it and saying essentially we need Susan Collins to be the Republican to have any chance of winning. So for there may be like a MAGA primary challenger that no one's ever heard of that runs against her, but in terms of like a well-funded, serious MAGA Republican that could win, I don't think Collins has to worry about that. Could she retire? That one I think is more possible. I do think she runs for re-election again, but it is interesting she hasn't officially announced that she's running again yet. The way she has been talking certainly sounds like Collins wants to run again and is going to run again, but I don't think there's a 0% chance that she doesn't run. But I also think that she may, honestly, as like a service to the party, may run for re-election, because even if Collins loses, if she doesn't run for re-election, that seat becomes like an automatic Democratic win, and the Democrats not only then are going to flip Maine, they're probably going more on the offensive in North Carolina, easily probably winning Georgia and Michigan, and then going on the offensive in Ohio, maybe going on the offensive in Iowa and Texas, and maybe even Alaska if Peltola runs. So out of service of the Republican Party, Collins may ultimately run for re-election just on that basis. But I think she runs, but it is interesting she hasn't officially announced it. I don't agree Democrats should should have had a primary. I know they only had a short time, but the primary would have been the person the Dems voted for and would have had a better chance. I just want to make sure I'm this right. I don't agree Dems should have had a primary. I know they only had a short time, but the primary would have been the person the Dems voted for and would have had a better chance, just my opinion. Yeah, I don't know. I think I get it. The Democrats could have had a primary. There's also no guarantee that Kamala Harris wouldn't have just won the primary anyway. She was the vice president to Joe Biden. She was on the same ticket as Joe Biden in 2020. She may have won the primary anyway, but I really don't know how many voters, I don't know how many Democrats said, I'm not going to vote for Kamala Harris as a Democrat because there wasn't a primary in the short span that it happened. There may be some out there. I really don't think there'd be too many on that. I think every Democrat that was going to vote for Biden voted for Kamala anyway, and everyone that was going to vote for Trump against Biden and Harris did that anyway too. But I don't know. Maybe it's revisionist history. I kind of just think it's how it goes. Oh, you got a few more votes actually. 53.945 now in the Tennessee district. I also think the Democratic nominee will be Newsom in 2028. I'm disappointed in Tennessee 7 ended up not being close with Behn, but Behn did do quite well considering she ran as a progressive. Yeah, it ended up being 8.9%, which is definitely the polls. Obviously, the Emerson poll showed it a 2-point race. The Democratic polls showed it around an 8-point race. So the Democratic ones actually were pretty spot on with how this race ended up being. But Behn did run as a progressive Democratic candidate in Tennessee. But at the same time, this district was Republican plus 22 in 2024. So I think the Democrats always had an uphill battle to win this race. And I think if you talk to Democratic campaign people on the ground in Tennessee, I think they would definitely tell you the same thing. I think they were hoping this race that they could win it, but I think they knew in the back of their mind they weren't going to win it. But it was a lot closer than it otherwise would be. 8.9% in this district is certainly nothing for the Democrats to be ashamed of. This was definitely a close race. It made the Republicans spend some money, pay a lot of attention. The president did a Zoom thing or a telephone thing to try and get this race, get Republicans out to vote. And it showed the Democrats at very least, even if they don't win, they're having a good 2025 by cutting the margins in half. It went from 22 to 8.9. Nothing to scoff at in that scenario. So yes, the Democrats didn't win, but I don't think this is the Democrats should look at this and be like, oh, we did terrible type thing. I don't know about that. Yeah, I actually was watching the polls and I was like, how is Biden losing Minnesota even by 0.2? Yeah, it's at that point in hindsight, it was kind of obvious Biden had to drop out. After the debate, he was losing Minnesota, losing New Hampshire, nearly losing New Jersey. At that point, Biden may have been in for I don't know, it would be a good comparison, maybe a George W. Bush in 1992 type of was it 1992 or 1988? It might have been 1988. Okay, maybe that's not the best comparison. But an election where Trump was going to win by maybe the inverse of an Obama 2008, where Obama got 365 and McCain only got 173. If it was Trump versus Biden, Trump would have got up to 316 with New Hampshire, 326 with Minnesota, and then New Jersey and Virginia still probably would have went blue, but it would have been more in play. That may be the best a Republican could do, honestly, in today's times, getting up to 326 or maybe even adding Virginia or New Jersey. So, yeah, I just think it's how it was on that one. Buttigieg, Beshear sound like better candidates. Let's see. Shapiro in the middle and the rest at the bottom. Yeah, I think it's tough because I think Buttigieg, Beshear, and Shapiro all could be very formidable candidates at the general election level. I'm not convinced. They could win the Democratic primary, but I don't know if Shapiro could do the Democratic primary. I don't know if he could win. Beshear, I really don't know if he has the name ID nationally for Democrats to win the primary. Buttigieg could, because of running in 2020, he caught a lot of national attention when he ran then. Buttigieg, I think, if it's not Newsom or Kamala Harris, I do think Buttigieg could be the Democratic nominee. Democrats may have a very strong chance of winning the general election if Beshear or Shapiro was the Democrat. I just don't know if they'll be able to win the primary. Robbie says, I'm not a Democrat, but I believe if the Dems keep running left in red states, they'll keep losing. Yeah. You can make the argument. I know earlier in the chat talks about Connor Lamb being more of a moderate Democrat when he won his special election. Maybe a more moderate Democrat than Aftyn Behn could have won this race. I still think it would have been a little bit of an uphill battle because it is still a Republican plus 22 district from 2024. So I'm not sure if a less progressive Democrat would have won this race, but maybe the result would have gone from like a 9-point victory for the Republican down to like a 5 or 6-point victory. That certainly could have been a possibility. Yeah, but also Collins is just old and maybe she's not in the best of health. She could maybe run and then drop out too, and almost everyone says they'll run again. It's true. I mean, I definitely think Collins could decide to not run. I mean, she is like, what, 70... What is she, 78, 79? Like, she's up there in age too. Like, if Collins really didn't want to run for health reasons, I think she would just not run. Like, for how long she's kept Maine Senate seat Republican, even though she's been obviously like, she's broken with President Trump a bunch of times and she's gotten the MAGA wing of the Republican primary or Republican Party pretty angry sometimes. She's kept what would be a solid Democratic seat red for, I think, literally my entire lifetime. So, I mean, definitely if Collins does not want to run, she won't run. But I don't know. I think from what she's said in the media so far, it seems like she's going to run, but the fact she hasn't done it officially yet could be something to keep an eye out for. Besides Emerson, there was another poll showing Van Epps up by only 2, so those turned out to be inaccurate as the polls underestimating Trump last year. Yeah, I mean, I don't think I've seen that poll. The only one I saw were the ones that were on Wikipedia, where Emerson had it a 2-point race and the 2 Democratic polls had it around 8-point races. So I'm sure that poll's out there. I'm sure you're right. I just don't have it, or I haven't personally seen it on here. Do you see yourself running for office at any point? Interesting question. I'm really not sure. I think running for office is something like when you're younger, you think it sounds so cool. You're like, oh, I'd love to do that. And then like the more you think about it as you get older, you're like, I don't know. Like in middle school, I'd be like, yes, 100%, I would love to. Now I'm like, I don't know, because it's a lot. There's like a lot of attention on you, like stuff like I don't know. They probably find like stuff like that I said in these videos or something out of context or something, and they try to like ruin my life with it or something. Like, I don't know. That being said, 50-50 maybe. If I will say this, if I ever wanted to run for something, I would only do it if I believed I could actually win. I wouldn't want to like, if whether it's this or like some other job that I had if I really enjoyed, I would never want to give it up if I thought I wasn't going to win. So, could I see myself running at some point? Yes, but I would only do it for sure if I thought I was going to be able to win. Do you think Charlie's passing will help Republicans in 2026 or 2028, or is it Trump's approval rating going to hurt the party too much? It's a good question because I think there are definitely a lot of Republicans and independents who are motivated to be more involved politically after that happened. But at the same time, the elections that took place in 2025 and the special elections, I mean, the Democrats have like outperformed in every single one of them. So it may motivate people to be more involved politically. I'm not sure it's motivating people to be more involved voting wise though. And like, I don't know if that makes sense. Like, I think a lot of Republicans and independents may be more Republican now because of what happened with Charlie, but now like with the voting wise, I don't think it's reflected in electoral performance anyway. It's kind of what I'm getting at. So I don't know. I'm kind of a big believer that if the president's not popular, their party's going to be in a lot of trouble. That's what happened with Biden. That's what happened with Trump, honestly, in 2018. It kind of seems like that's where things are going for Trump right now. He could turn things around where ultimately like it changes on that, but I kind of think that's where things are going. So I think if it's Charlie versus Trump's approval rating, I think Trump's approval rating probably hurts the Republicans more. But again, we'll have to wait and see how that all goes. But I think Trump's approval rating will probably be the biggest one for 2026. Truthfully, I think the economy and how inflation is doing is going to be the biggest issue of 2026. If the economy is not doing great and things are still super high, if prices are super high, then I think 2026 will be a big win for the Democrats. And there's not really much anyone can do about that at that point, would be my personal thoughts on that. Is the dropping out of Tom Tillis good or bad for the GOP? I think it's bad personally. This is one where honestly, I'm very conflicted because early on, I thought for sure Tillis dropping out was honestly a good thing for the GOP because of how Tillis himself has performed. Where in 2020, he has won plurality twice now. He got 48.7% in 2020, and in 2014 he won 48.8%. So I don't think there was any world in which Thom Tillis was breaking 50% of the vote against Roy Cooper. So from that standpoint, I think him dropping out may have been a better thing for the GOP. But at the same time, the Republicans are going to be in a tough fight either way because they're facing off against Roy Cooper in the Senate race. And the best comparison I keep making for this is 2018 Florida, where Rick Scott ran against Bill Nelson, the Democratic incumbent, and Scott was able to win by 0.12% in taking down the incumbent. Now, when Tillis dropped out, that comparison kind of stopped being like really applicable because the incumbent's not running. But Michael Whatley running as the former chair of the RNC, pretty much he has the entire Republican Party behind him. He essentially has enough unified support to essentially be a incumbent. But at the same time, if you asked every North Carolina voter, Michael Whatley versus Roy Cooper, who's the one you've heard of, it's going to be Roy Cooper every single time. So I honestly think, in the most respectful terms of Thom Tillis, I don't know if it makes much of a difference. I think it slightly helps the GOP, but I don't think it makes much of a difference because I don't think the Republicans are going to be in a super strong position starting out against Roy Cooper either way. Because I just think Roy Cooper, being the former governor, leaving office with pretty strong approval ratings, now coming to face either a unpopular Republican incumbent or a political newcomer in terms of electoral performance, electoral office, I don't think the Republicans are going to be in a great position either way. So I kind of think it's a wash, maybe slightly tilted towards it helps the GOP, but I think Cooper starts out as the favorite either way there, personally. I think one strategy for the Dems in 2028 is drop the identity politics. They can still be socially liberal, but the identity politics is the difference and should be dropped off. I think they definitely could do that. I think Newsom, even when he started doing his podcast early on in 2025, I think it was kind of him attempting to do that and doing that as well. The only thing is, I think identity politics for Democrats is still going to be a very important issue, especially in the Democratic primary. But then come the general election, and I think Kamala Harris kind of did this a little bit as well. You're going to see a pivot more towards the economy and immigration and healthcare. I think those are the issues Democrats are going to want to run on in 2028, especially the economy. Is if President Trump and the economy are not doing well in 2028, the Democrats are going to make the economy 100% the go-to issue in that campaign. Healthcare is usually the Democrats' one of their best issues for the last 20 years or so, really starting with Obama and Obamacare and all that. But if the economy is not going well, the economy is going to be the number one issue in 2028. The Democrats are going to run that in every single campaign ad, every single commercial, and they may win the presidency because of that. But I do agree. I think identity politics come 2028. I don't know if this is going to be the Democrats doing it on purpose or just the American electorate changing. I think identity politics may kind of fall to the wayside a little bit in 2028, and the economy, healthcare, and affordability are going to kind of be the main ones that rise up for 2028. Because I think, honestly, when you talk about issues that most Americans feel are affecting them today, the economy is almost always at the top. Healthcare and affordability and inflation always seem to be in the top three now. I think that kind of seems to be where it goes. Not diminishing identity politics and saying it's not important or diminishing issues like immigration or crime, but I just think the economy always seems to be number one, and I think that's going to be where things ultimately remain for 2028. But again, we'll have to wait and see how it all develops. Actually, if you look at her objective voting record, she votes with Trump about 95% of the time. Oh, is that Susan Collins? Okay, well, if that is the case, then, definitely in 2026, and in a big Democratic midterm wave year, if that is the case, then definitely she may be in trouble this time around anyway. Susan Collins is interesting because I've done this in some videos as well, but when she won in 2020, she got 50.98% of the vote and avoided ranked choice voting. If it went to ranked choice voting, she was not going to win by 8.6%. When you take Savage's votes and Lynn's votes and do the ranked choice voting process, Gideon and Collins would probably have ended up at very best being a 5-point victory for Collins. It was going to be a lot closer in ranked choice voting. I pretty much bet anything on that. So I definitely think in 2026, in a midterm Democratic year, Collins could definitely lose in 2026. I don't think that's really shocking anybody that I say that, but that could definitely be the case. Neil said that Collins will be 73 in a few days. I'm surprised she's not facing a primary challenge from the MAGA right. I think there was definitely talk of it. I just think a lot of MAGA Republicans in Maine know that even if they're frustrated with Susan Collins, I mean, it doesn't take like a genius to know that no MAGA Republican is going to win statewide in Maine. It's just not going to happen. Kind of like with like Massachusetts and with New Hampshire to a degree, MAGA Republicans just don't seem to win. These blue states is definitely not at the Senate level, but even at the governor level, it takes the right type of, I think it's even called New England Republican, of like a socially liberal but maybe economically conservative Republican that's not going to like muddy the water too much, not going to be like a very big national name. Those are the type of Republicans that are competitive in New England, and those are the type of ones that win governor's races. Now, Susan Collins is a very special case because I think she's the only New England Republican senator. So she is definitely someone that, even if like you said, her voting record is 95%, she still has the perception in a lot of circles of being a more moderate Republican. So I think that's very important for her, and I think that's going to be something that she's going to try and run on. I'll get to your comment, Blue Wave, just because you said, all right, I got to go, and I probably won't be back in time, so have a good night. I know it's late in Mass. I'm on Pacific Standard Time. Bye. I appreciate all the comments you left tonight. Obviously, it's been a very great stream. You left a ton of comments and taking a ton of your time to comment on this video, so I really appreciate you doing that. Pacific Time, yeah, definitely. I know it's 10:40 for me right now. It's almost 11. Yeah, I'm probably going to end the stream soon as well, but thank you for watching. I really appreciate you sticking around tonight, Blue Wave. Appreciate it. Joseph, which elections do you enjoy covering the most? Presidential, Senate, House, and Governor. Good question. That's a good one. I honestly think it's for my own channel reasons. I would say probably the Senate ones, because I started my channel in 2018 and I only did videos on the Senate elections leading up to the midterms. I don't think I did House elections until 2024. I don't even think I'd really focus on them in 2022. 2022, I did Senate. The Senate elections are always the ones I kind of like come back to and make me want to do. The presidential one was fun in 2024 because in 2020, I did some videos on the presidential election, but I didn't put like a ton of time into them. But the Senate ones I always wanted to do. The House was exciting in 2024 because I like never really covered those. So I would do some videos on the House races, and those would like get a ton of views, and people were really like interested in those. So the House ones are interesting. The governor elections, I honestly find the governor elections really interesting because the governor ones honestly have the possibility of going like to the opposite party more, I think, than the other ones do. But for some reason, a lot of people just don't watch the governor's ones as much as the Senate or House ones, probably because they're more localized and less like nationalized type elections. So Senate probably number 1 for me, presidential number 2, House number 3, and then probably governor number 4. But I honestly do enjoy all of them. But I think for sure Senate is probably my number 1. Lysandra said MAGA is strong. I mean, definitely MAGA is, I think, the leader of the Republican Party right now. That's the direction the Republicans are going nationally. But in New England, in terms of winning a general election, MAGA just doesn't really seem to do too well in the elections, at least in New England anyway. Nationally, the Republican Party is definitely MAGA. The Republican primaries is definitely MAGA, but if you want to win general elections in New England, I don't think MAGA is the way to go for there. And for honestly pretty much every blue state, I would say that. But definitely the Republican Party, I don't think it's going to get any less MAGA over the next like 10 years or so. Like in 2028, I'd be shocked if it's not J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio representing the Republican Party in 2028. Do you do this full-time or on the side another job? So right now, I'm doing it full-time. I am looking for like other jobs as well, just keeping an eye out there. But currently, I'm doing it full-time. So yeah. One interesting thing about the 2024 election is that how people were saying that the Dems were losing mail voting due to them feeling not seen by the Dems. Yeah, definitely. And I think also I know the talk of like podcasts being in 2024 being the first election to like really focus on podcasts being a big news form and such a news media device used by definitely President Trump and the Republicans. But yeah, that was definitely a big voting block. And 2028 will be very key to that, to see how that goes in 28. Do Democrats win men back? Do even younger voters like 18 to 29, do they go back to the Democrats at all in 2028? Could be a potential big sign to watch for as well. But yeah, men definitely losing male voting for Democrats would be interesting. That's why the conversation also for 2028 comes up is who's the right Democratic candidate. If the focus is putting the identity politics aside and trying to win male voters back, as one of the Democrats' like biggest priorities. Which is the best Democrat to do that? Is that Newsom? Is that maybe Josh Shapiro, Andy Beshear? He says he's not running for president, but I think really if he did, I think Wes Moore could be someone that nationally would get a lot of attention. And I know that the comparison's really easy. Everyone's going to say he's the next Obama, but could he kind of replicate that momentum of getting a lot of young, definitely a lot of young people, a lot of young men as well into that conversation? Could be something you need to watch for as well. Do you think Democrats could win a trifecta in 2028? So I actually think 2028 could be. I think 2026, Democrats could win the House. The Senate, even in the Democrats' best case scenario, I think they still fall at least 1 to 2 Senate seats short. But I think the Senate could potentially go blue in 2028, especially if Wisconsin, which is Ron Johnson's Senate seat, flips. And then North Carolina, Ted Budd may be in trouble. I think he holds on and wins re-election, but if Roy Cooper wins, maybe there's the potential that a Democrat like Jeff Jackson maybe runs, or maybe the governor runs now. That's currently the governor may run, and Josh Stein. So I think it's possible in 2028 the Democrats have the trifecta. 2026 the Senate and House both flipping. I don't think it's in the cards to the Democrats right now. The House could, but 2028 I do think that is possible. Surely most male voters are socially liberal, not necessarily anywhere on the right, and not MAGA, but chose Trump and probably Dem in the Senate races. I mean, yeah, that definitely could have been the case because you look at the Senate races in 2024 and you look down ballot, like Michigan, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, all three voted for Trump. Pennsylvania barely voted for McCormick, Michigan voted for Slotkin, and Wisconsin voted for Baldwin. And then Nevada and Arizona, both of these states voted for Trump by at least 2 or 3 points, and they voted Democrat at the Senate level too. So yeah, definitely there could be some of that there as well. Let's see here. Do you think Ron Johnson's Senate seat flips? He's popular here, but won a close election in 2022. Yeah. Ron Johnson's interesting because I feel like every time that I think he's going to lose, he finds a way to win. Like in 2020, or was it 20? It might have been 2022. He won by 1 point against Mandela Barnes, but 2022 was also, Roe v. Wade messed it up, kind of, but it was supposed to be more of a Republican midterm year, and he won by 1 point. It's possible in 2028 also that Ron Johnson decides to just not run for re-election, because I know he talked about maybe not running again in 2022, and President Trump essentially kind of like convinced him to run for re-election. So Johnson may retire in 2028, and if he does, it may become an open seat, and then you may see Democrats like Mandela Barnes may run, Sarah Rodriguez, and Josh Kaul. Like, these Democrats are considering running for governor now, may make a run for Senate as well. So I think the seat very well could flip in 2028. I think Ron Johnson running for re-election gives the Republicans the best chance at holding it, but I think he'd be running for a 4th term at that point, so he may decide he doesn't want to run again and ultimately hangs it up. But I do think of the Senate seats that are up in 2028, number one pickup opportunity of any party, I think, is Wisconsin with Ron Johnson. I think that's the seat that's most likely to flip. But in 2028, there's going to be a lot of Senate seats that are up that could. Wisconsin could be one, Pennsylvania could be one, North Carolina could be one, Georgia could be one, Arizona, Nevada. They could all potentially flip. New Hampshire with Maggie Hassan, I don't think would be in play too much, but maybe if it's a better candidate than Don Bolduc, like if maybe John Sununu becomes the Republican this time around, and maybe if Chris Sununu or Scott Brown runs in the next one in 2028, maybe that race becomes more competitive. So there's some real pickup opportunities for both Democrats and Republicans in 2028. Trump convinced Ron Johnson to run in 2022. I never knew that. Yeah, I thought it was, obviously I could be wrong, but I thought it was early on Ron Johnson said that he didn't really want to run for re-election, that he said his second term would be his final one and he didn't want to run for a third term. But then the Republican prospects were looking pretty dim at holding that seat, and Trump essentially kind of like behind the scenes was like, I kind of want you to run for re-election. We can't afford to lose your Senate seat. And then you look at how it went, like Fetterman beat Dr. Oz in Pennsylvania, Ted Budd won in North Carolina, but Warnock beat Herschel Walker, Blake Masters lost in Arizona to Mark Kelly, Adam Laxalt lost to Catherine Cortez Masto in Nevada. Pretty much every single toss-up seat Democrat beat the Republican that Trump really wanted in the primary. So Wisconsin, Trump getting Ron Johnson to run, or maybe Ron Johnson just wanting to run. It was 51-49 for the Senate for the Democrats in 2022. If that one went blue, it'd be 52-48. Then Republicans go up to 53-47. Those close wins in Pennsylvania, really could have made the difference here. and flipping also Ohio and West Virginia and Montana. Like, it could have been a whole different ball game in 2024 if Ron Johnson's seat did not or went blue in 2026 or in 2022. It's been a long night. Or in 2022. And I've seen takes from talk shows and TikTok videos from people who may be aligned with the Democratic Party that may have had misandrous or anti-men undertones. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, because I don't like... that's a good question. I'm sure that must have played a role. I don't really watch too much of that stuff. I think definitely the 2024 election, I think a lot of people, there were a lot of first-time voters in 2024 for sure, but I also think a lot of people kind of early on between Trump versus Biden kind of knew which way they were leaning already. And then Trump versus Kamala, there were voters that were going one way or the other, may have like been 100% sure which way they were going for sure. But 2028, there may be the potential of voters being a little more open-minded, especially because 2028, very underratedly, will also be the first presidential election that Trump will not be on the ballot since Obama versus Romney in 2012. 16, 20, and 24, Trump's been on the ballot in every single one. And then in 2028, I mean, Kamala Harris could be the candidate again, but we may also see like Newsom versus Vance, or maybe AOC versus Rubio or Vance or something. So maybe like two new candidates that haven't been the presidential candidate for the first time since 2012. So it could be an interesting election from that standpoint as well. How do a lot of people vote, but how do young men voters vote for the first election without Trump at the top of the ticket in a while could be really interesting as well. Because a lot of these voters that are voting, I mean, a lot of them voted for the first time in 2024. A lot of them don't really remember a America where Trump was not involved with the Republican Party. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in 2028. Now let's see. Which elections have been the most surprising that you have covered? That's interesting. That's an interesting one. Let's see. The first one I remember 2018. 2018, nothing really too surprising happened that I kind of didn't think was going to happen. One of the first videos I made was I thought Josh Hawley was going to beat Claire McCaskill. And I remember thinking that early on. I remember being right about that. Florida was very close. I thought Rick Scott was going to beat Bill Nelson. He ultimately did. So that wasn't too much of a shock. Ted Cruz only winning by 2.6% was a little bit of a surprise. 2020 overall, not really much surprised me there. 2022, I would say. 2022 was pretty surprising because I knew there was going to be the effect of Roe v. Wade and that the Republicans weren't going to do as well as they probably should have. But the Democrats, I thought, did a lot better. Like, they way outperformed the polls in New Hampshire, way outperformed in Pennsylvania, outperformed in Georgia, Warnock beating Walker, Kelly winning in Arizona, Masta winning in Nevada. So I'd say 2022 was probably the election that I think most caught me by surprise. Actually, you know what? Thinking about it, I want to change my answer. The one election I've covered that I was most surprised by, 100% just happened, was the governor's race in New Jersey for 2025. Every single poll showed this race being very competitive. I thought 100% this was going to be a very close race. I did think Mikey Sherrill was probably going to win by like a lean Democratic margin of 5 points or less. But this being a 14-point win completely blindsided me. Like, never in a million years did I think this was going to be a 14-point Democratic win. So, without a doubt, the 2025 New Jersey governor's race is the election I was most surprised by. That's definitely my answer on that one. Another Trumplican, just like what we need. Some people will never learn. Yeah, I should have mentioned that was particularly 2024 election cycle that the talk of male voters talk about. Yeah, no, I know. I picked up on that. Again, my comment on the talk show TikTok video takes. Yeah. No, I get that for sure. And that's kind of why when you said I was kind of talking about 2028 as well, kind of like after 2024 going into 2028 without Trump at the top of the ticket, how will that ultimately, like, will those men voters stay in the Republican Party? Will they, depending on the candidates, like if it's Newsom versus Vance, do some of them go to Newsom? Do they double down? Do they vote for Vance? Do they just, now that Trump's not on the ticket, do they not vote? Like, I don't know. I kind of think it's interesting to see how that ultimately could all play out for 2028. Okay, so let's see. We're near 7,600 views for the total stream since I started about 3 hours ago, which is crazy. That went by very, very quick, but got 62 current viewers now. Just a quick recap, then I'm going to just wrap this up really quickly. Matt Van Epps, the Republican, ended up winning over the Democrat Aftyn Behn. Probably about an hour and a half ago or so, won this race. No, about an hour ago. Matt Van Epps won 53.9%, Aftyn Behn 45%, an 8.9% victory. There may be a few more votes that trickle in, but with everything over 95% in, the race obviously is decided and called. Ended up being an 8.9% victory, which was a lot less Republican from what it was in 2024. Mark Green, the Republican, won 59.5 to 38%. So the special election bounce that the Democrats been having in 2025, where the Democrats do better than the Republicans in special elections. Republican voter turnout has been down. Democratic voter enthusiasm has been skyrocketing. That did continue in this election, going from 22 points down to 8.9. But ultimately, the Republicans in this district being red enough. Matt Van Epps holds on, wins this district, and keeps a very crucial House seat in the Republican hands after what could have been a very scary situation for the Republicans if the seat goes blue. But with over 179,899 voters, actually one interesting note here, nearing 180,000, that almost hit the level of 2022, the midterm, where it was 180,822 votes. So this special election put up the numbers that the 2022 midterm did. So that is very, very interesting that that happened in this district. But ultimately, the Republican Matt Van Epps ends up winning this race and keeps the seat for the Republicans, though the Democrat did do much better than expected in a very competitive and important House election. So with that, after streaming for about 3 hours now, I am going to wrap the stream up there. Thank you everyone that took the time to watch this stream, whether you watched it for 30 seconds or for 3 hours. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Make sure to keep an eye out for other videos I'm going to be posting over the next few days and few weeks as well. As now we get closer to 2026, all eyes are on for that. Also, I'm going to start doing some 2028 videos as we get closer to that as well. But thank you so much for taking the time to watch this. I really appreciate it. On the way out, make sure to hit like and subscribe as well if you enjoyed this and you want to see me do more videos, maybe more live streams as well. It seemed to be a lot of fun, so I would definitely be down to do more of these in the future as well. Thank you, Brian. You too. Have a good night. Thank you very much for watching. See, you've been here since the beginning, so I really appreciate you watching as well. Thank you so much. Have a good night. So yeah, make sure to hit like and subscribe on the way out if you want to see more of these, and I hope to see you in a future video.